Ladies and gentlemen, let's go. Let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Fake toss, two fake tosses, and then to Kittle over the middle. Touchdown, San Francisco. He faked it to McLeod, he faked it to McCaffrey, and then hits Kittle over the middle. Tell me this guy doesn't look like he's in his 7th year in the league.
I did get informed about Brock's nickname in the locker room, Pablo. But apparently,
enlighten us.
He goes by Big Brock in the locker room.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
You think it's an ironic nickname, or is it like, just the way he plays, or...
Alex Smith said earlier they don't give those out willy-nilly.
Also, when he says it's in the locker room, I think that's a little too revealing there. You know what? Good for him. Good for him in the way he plays.
I didn't even mean to say willy-nilly as a pun.
Oh, I thought you did. I thought that was planned. Hey, guys, he planned that. Been planning it for years. 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation today. It is The Zone on a Friday. Jason Anderson, Josh Brisco, and Beards. We head up until 2 o'clock. An hour from now, we will talk with Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest. We'll talk with him about, shockingly, the Chiefs. We will discuss some football with Matt Derrick and whatever else may come up, because sometimes it gets random with Matt Derrick, which, you never know. Lee Sterling, later on this hour, will get you set for a weekend of NFL. The Bulls start now. And go. Has it actually kicked off yet? I don't have the TV in front of me. I don't know if it's 10:30, sorry. 10:30.
24 minutes till bowl season.
And Mark.
You're going to get every bowl game except for one from Lee Sterling.
That means you've got 24 minutes to get in your bowl pool.
Oh.
To get out there, wherever it might be. I don't know. I have not done those in years.
I also haven't. I kind of like the idea because it's just, pick a vibe, pick a mascot, whatever, but it doesn't quite have the same bracket fun,
I always liked the idea of ranking them by points.
Yeah.
So, like...
confidence rankings.
Yeah. I think Georgia beats Ohio State, I'm going to put 30 points on that one. 1 through 30, or I guess 1 through 70, which however many bowls there are now.
1 through 400, I think.
Wow, you got a 400-pointer? Yeah, it felt really good. Felt really good about that Michigan over TCU. Put it as a 400er. Wow. I like those games. Or types of brackets, mainly because it's the only one of those bowl things that I've ever won, and nobody cares. And nobody cares at all because I had Ohio State winning the championship when they beat, I believe it was Oregon, with Cardell Jones, with 12 gauge. I went ahead and went Ohio State to win it. I don't know why. Have no idea. But because of that, I was in like 18th place in the championship game, and everybody in front of me had Oregon. Like, if Ohio State wins, I win the whole thing. And they did, so it was good, and nobody cares. But, I do enjoy those. That to be, to say 23 minutes now.
Oh, man, we're so close.
Get rolling, which, and the big one that people are so pumped about.
Yeah,
that is,
I was going to mention it, but since you know for sure, everyone knows what's about to kick off.
That is Miami of Ohio. The 6-6 Miami of Ohio.
The Land Hurricanes, I think.
That's right. Taking on the 6-6 UAB.
Dragons.
Yep.
Love UAB. Big Blazers?
Blazers.
But their mascot's a dragon?
Mascot is a
Dragon.
That is the Bahamas Bowl. It's going to be.
Where's that
ESPN.
being played?
Actually, Colorado.
Weird.
It's odd. There's just a picture of the Bahamas in the background. It's like, imagine if you guys were here. All right, 913-912-4810. So Lee Sterling, Matt Derrick.
They don't put all the Amazon Prime games on in the rainforest.
Great point. Last night they did not play that in the rainforest.
Might as well have.
Played that thing in Seattle.
Closest you could get to it, Seattle, I think. And
Probably.
for an NFL rainforest.
We'll talk with Kendall Gammon at noon, and then we'll hear from and hang out with Mick Shaffer. We'll hear from Andy Reid today in the 1 o'clock hour. What's on tap, cuts, all still to come. While it may not be a rainforest, I do think tomorrow night we might actually have a real-life snow globe. Like, if you want to know what a snow globe looks like, maybe in real life, I think tomorrow Dolphins-Bills might be that. They're expecting 2 to 3 inches of snow during the game and gusts up to 28 miles an hour.
Ugh.
It might be an actual snow globe during the game.
But listen, Tua seen snow. It snowed in Alabama his first year.
It's not in Alabama, man.
Did. And also, they've been practicing indoors in Miami with the AC turned really, really low.
Wishes it was colder.
He had a shirt that said, "I wish it was colder," while wearing sweats that were pulled up to his knees because, it wasn't colder. Does that really matter? Like, because you live in Buffalo, do you hang out in an igloo outside, or do you have heat in your house and you park in your garage and you heat your car and you go to work in a building that is heated? Like, it's not like you're acclimated to hang out for 4.5 hours outside in 15-degree weather.
Tua having the absolute wherewithal, the unmitigated gall to say it snowed in Alabama one time, and therefore I'm not worried about lake effect snow, is bleeping bonkers. It snowed 5 feet in Buffalo like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Feet.
The 2 to 3 inches is
And they
a
were
dusting.
like, do we still want to can't play this game here?
Right. People were mad that they moved it out of Buffalo.
Brock Purdy just turns his nose up at 2 to 3 inches. Like, what is that? Who cares? Also, what's a real home field advantage? Like, if we break this down, what's a real home field advantage? Is it Buffalo playing in the snow and the cold where both teams have to do that?
Yeah.
Or, which has been pointed out a number of times, that the way they built the Dolphin Stadium is that in afternoon games, the home team ends up in the shade and the road team has an extra couple of hours in the sun in Miami. That's only one team going through those elements where you are sitting and baking in the sun and the other team is in the shade. That's actually a pretty decent. It's not like the Bills sideline is going to be 60-degree weatherized and no snow where the Dolphins are out there just shivering and cold. May I come in, sir?
Oh, no.
Per Schefter, it's Zach Wilson time
Yeah.
in New York. Robert Saleh says, quote, he's the same quarterback that once went 18 for 18 in a bowl game.
That is delicious.
Yeah, and A.J. McCarron's the same quarterback that won a championship. Who cares? Didn't LSU win with a guy named Mock? And not my buddy Chris? Like, they think they won with a guy. What's he done in the NFL? Either of them. The LSU quarterback or my buddy.
18 for 18 in a playoff game is...
No.
I'm sorry, in a bowl game.
Bowl.
18 for 18 in a bowl game is maybe the faintest praise I've ever heard for any NFL quarterback ever.
By the way, right now you can get the Lions -1. -115 is the money line for the Lions. It's in New York.
Zach Wilson set a BYU record. Zach Wilson set a BYU record with 18 for 18 passing, throwing for 317 yards and 4 touchdowns in the Cougars' 49-18 victory over Western Michigan on Friday in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl.
Well, he's playing a Michigan team again, so maybe that's the connection.
Not exactly the college football playoff against, at the time, the 7-6 Western Michigan Broncos.
How do we know that Zach Wilson doesn't see a Michigan team and immediately see blood? How do you know that?
I don't know. I'm
don't know
really
that.
excited for them to turn MetLife Stadium into MetLife Manor. That's a very specific reference to something that hit the internet, I think, yesterday.
I appreciated it.
Have you seen the new TLC show that's coming out, Jason? I'm going to show you during the break. It's a reality dating show. I wouldn't worry about it too much right now.
I think I may have heard about it, but I'm not placing it right now. I think
That's
it's
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 4-letter manor, and
okay. Maybe I haven't.
I mean, it's going to be on the Learning Channel. It looks like there's going to be a lot to learn.
Okay, looking forward to that. TLC.
I think Zach Wilson's going to be dialed in, is basically what I'm saying.
Okay. All right, 913-912-4810 is the text line. 913-912-4810. You could probably figure out what those letters are when you connect it to Zach Wilson.
Famous Cougar.
But that is a really good pull, Josh.
Whoa.
It's really well done.
Okay, thank you.
Really well done.
I wasn't sure what you meant the first time.
No, that was just legit. That was a really good reference.
Thank you.
Out of nowhere. All right, 913.
I was making Beards watch the trailer 30 minutes ago.
912, which is why you got the huge chuckle from Beards. I don't know if that came across the air or not.
No, my mic was off.
Because, well, no, that's fine. Your mic may be off.
I can
heard
hear it from here, too.
We used to hear Jake down the hallway go, ha! Isn't that Jake's laugh?
That's a good Jake. That's an excellent Jake laugh.
We would say something, I don't even know what it was, but all of a sudden you would hear, like, is that Jake down the hall? And it would actually come through on the broadcast. Wow. All right, that was a good one. We at least know that it landed with somebody.
At least somebody's laughing. That's all that matters.
Landed with somebody out there. All right, so Lee Sterling, Matt Derrick. Here's how the show lines up in case you forgot from 5 minutes ago. Matt Derrick, Kendall Gammon, Mick Shaffer, and Andy Reid. We'll hear from him, and we'll get what's on tap. It's a huge, by the way, as a quick aside, huge sports weekend.
Yeah.
Huge sports weekend. Kicked off with Miami of Ohio and UAB in roughly 15 minutes from now.
So close.
Woo. Can I ask you a question, Josh? Is it okay? Is it okay if I ask you a question?
I'd love to answer it if I can.
As we get into the show here. Is it just because it's what we've always done? Is it because the old adage of extend the game as long as you can? But what's the reason why down 9 in the fourth quarter, teams kick the extra point to go down 8 instead of try to go down 7 because you're going to need the 2-point conversion at some point? Wouldn't it make more logical sense to go for 2 with more time left on the clock so you know exactly what you have to deal with if you need 2 more possessions, as opposed to like a do-or-die play at the end of where we've got 5 seconds left and we're down 2 with this 2-point conversion. If we convert, we tie. If we don't, we lose. It all came down to this, but don't worry. We've extended this game for 59 minutes and 55 seconds instead of feeling like the game might be over with 56 minutes expired in the game. Is it just because it's what we've always done? That's one question. The second question is that the next evolution of where we see maybe some analytics and coaches saying, why don't I give myself more time to figure out what I have to deal with here in the fourth quarter? Because last night that came up, and we saw Pete Carroll kick the extra point down 9 to go down 8. Didn't really matter in the end. But had they got the ball back, or whatever it might have been, I would have liked to know, do I need 7 or do I need 9?
It's a really good question that is starting to be asked a little bit, but should have probably been asked a whole lot sooner just throughout like NFL coaching. And it's one of those spaces where I really do think like media who's paying attention is ahead of the curve of what the actual coaching staffs are at. Because I think what it's been for years is the power of we were in it right until the end. That last possession, we were just a touchdown and a conversion away, and all of a sudden we're taking that game to overtime. I think you nailed it at the very beginning. Good job. Staying in the game as long as possible, having as much competitive football as you can get, I think is often more valuable to coaches than the quality of that window. Of maximizing your winning percentage, maximizing the quality of your looks, maximizing your opportunities in the future. It's how I've also kind of started summarizing where I think Andy Reid is at, where Andy Reid wants a game to be as conventional as possible, as long as possible, and then he'll start pushing the envelope when he needs to. That's because Andy Reid is partially like a football-minded wizard and partially a hand-in-the-dirt old-school football coach. Every coach has those 2 wolves inside of them, and Andy Reid's probably pretty close to 50-50 in a lot of those ways. But ultimately, yes, I hope that that's an evolution, but it's kind of like with some of the 4th down and midfield stuff, which has moved over the last few years, where you say, hey, this isn't how it's been done for the last 50 years of football, but this is the thing that will put your team in a better position. Alternatively, you go for 2 down 9 and you don't convert that, those are the first 5 questions in postgame that the coaches are going to have to deal with. So there's also a media education that needs to go on here. And my God, NFL coaches would never admit to like making decisions to avoid press conference questions, but I think that plays into it of like, oh man, the heat of, do I just kick it here and we're down 8 and the game keeps going? Yeah, fine. Even if a coach wanted to be a little more aggressive.
Is it better to lose by 2, 8, or 9? Because no matter what, it's a loss.
Right.
Or what makes me feel better, or what makes it feel like we had a better chance of winning that game, losing by 2 on the last 2-point conversion attempt and then not getting an onside kick or whatever. Because, by the way, depending on how much time is left in the game, if you don't get that 2-point conversion, you will then need to kick the onside to get the ball back.
Right.
Whereas last night, they score with just under 4 minutes to play with only 2 timeouts. They're down 8, so they're saying, we get the ball back, we need 1 possession here to win. But if you don't get the 2-point conversion, if you get the ball back and score a touchdown and don't get the 2-point conversion and you're down 2 at that point, you then have to have an onside kick to get the ball back. Whereas if you don't get the 2-point conversion, down 9, only 2 timeouts with 3:40 to play, you know you're probably going to have to onside it right then.
And you know it anyway.
And
so
you just
know it 2 minutes earlier,
Yep.
which in your probabilities doesn't matter.
But
If you're
also-
going to need it either way.
But it could give you a chance for 2 onside kicks in theory.
Yes.
So you
Yes.
onside kick and don't recover it. If you hold them without picking up a first down and they're not in field goal range, or maybe they don't want to risk it and kick a 57-yarder and give you the ball at like the 40-yard line or wherever, 47-yard line, and now you're down 6, and now you got the ball at midfield with however much time, so they may punt it. So now you got the ball with maybe 2 minutes to play, minute 45 to play. You need 9 points. So you go and if you score, then you get another chance at an onside kick. You almost give yourself 2 chances for an onside kick rather than just 1 if you are not able to pick up the 2-point conversion. It just makes more sense to me to give myself more time to figure out what I have to do to win this game, as opposed to this is the one chance and we can win it, or we can tie on this one play, and if not, we need a miracle. We're going to need an onside kick and a Hail Mary. And also when you kick the if you do make it, because we're talking about, well, if you don't make it, now what happens?
Right.
Well, if you do make it, you get the ball back and a touchdown can tie the game. Because, by the way, the extra point is not 100%. So just because it say we'll kick the extra point and take the point, well, we've seen around here they didn't exactly just you press the easy button and press the extra point button. It's like when we talk about in baseball, like stealing bases. Well, you don't get to press the stolen base button.
Right.
You don't get to. Well, why don't you just sacrifice them over? Well, you know what? You don't just press the sacrifice button. Somebody actually has to bunt the ball to get it down in a spot to where the pitcher or the catcher can't just turn and throw to third or whatever it might be. Like. Those things have to be done. It's not a 100% out of 100%. I don't know. Just maybe we'll see a change and a slower migration into the side of why don't I give myself more of an opportunity to figure out what I have to do if I don't convert here.
And just in case we've skipped to the 201 class, the 101 like foundational thing that I think is really important is to understand that if you're down by 2 touchdowns and the change, right? You score your first touchdown, you've now cut it down to 9, and the PAT is pending, right?
You're down 15 points.
You were down 15. Now you've got it to a 9-point deficit, and you can either send your kicker out there, you can send your team out for 2. You're going to have to convert a 2-point conversion at some point, regardless. So you want to have that attempt earlier. So if you don't get it, you're probably in miracle territory regardless. But if you don't get it on that first attempt, you have a little more game left to try to get a little wacky, to figure it out. You take that onside kick a little earlier. You might have time for 2 onside kicks if you're able to do both of them. But it's about having as much information as early as possible about what you're going to need to stay into the game. And I think the conventional wisdom is often, let's just keep this thing in striking distance as late as possible. But if that happens, you have no margin for error.
Yeah.
If you make these moves a little bit earlier on, and frankly, you make these moves like early in the fourth quarter, depending on kind of where you're at, how far out you want to math it. It gets a little more complicated the further you zoom out. But that gives you more opportunities to adjust and readjust whenever the game begins slipping through your fingers if you're in a situation like the Seahawks were.
I would wonder what the win probability would be. Let's say the Seahawks went for the 2-point conversion last night and didn't get it. And they're down 9 as opposed to being down 8. What would the win probability be there with 3 minutes, 40 seconds to play compared to they kick the extra point, they're down 8, then they go and score a touchdown with 10 seconds to go, and then they attempt the 2-point conversion and don't get it? what's a higher win probability of when you don't get the 2-point conversion? Is it with 3:40 to play down 9 or with 10 seconds to play down 2?
And it's going to be the later. At the end, it's over. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just over.
Like it's 0.00. Like it's a matter of the recovering the onside kick and then being able to kick a field goal from that spot that you recovered the onside kick. Because I mean, in this scenario, it's 5-10 seconds. I mean, everything's going to float. But it's just, is there, because if we're talking about not converting, this is just simply if you don't convert. That's all it is. Because again, just because you attempt the 2-point conversion later in the game doesn't mean you're going to succeed in that. So we're discussing of worst case scenario, you don't convert your 2-point conversion. I'm assuming the win probability would be higher with 3:40 to play down 9 than with 10 seconds to play down 2 and you're kicking off.
I think you'd be right.
It might be 1%.
It's all very, very minute because
right.
when the Seahawks scored that touchdown last night, it got them all the way to a 4.8% win probability or something on the ESPN model because you're playing from behind. This is all very, very minute, and if you're listening to this going, boy, this is so minute, let's go back a few months where we spent every show for a week talking about the 53rd man on this roster for the Chiefs because those types of things do matter in the details. At the NFL level, the details of the leverage on your blocks matters, right? Like, and coaches know that stuff. Coaches love the details. But this is a detail where there's some meat on the bone. That's why I am drawn to this conversation, because there are inefficiencies here that the entire NFL hasn't already jumped on when they're very, very good at jumping on inefficiencies.
I think there is a large majority of people that are on board with sort of the analytics, or at least the numbers of it, and understanding that part of it. I think there is some vocal that are very much against it, and it's all analytics or the devil, all of that. So everything's the devil to your mama.
And there's been a little more of a synthesis over the last few years, I think.
But I think more people are on board with that. And I say it because I think there's an element of people that may be look, football's a game of inches. Well, if we agree to that, if we agree that football is a game of inches, why can't football be a game of incremental percentages?
Exactly.
Here or there.
Exactly.
Because if it's an inch there, well, it's also a percentage further down the field that you got the ball. So we can just break it down into metrics or percentages, whichever way you want to do it. It's sort of the same thing.
It's a game of millimeters. No, it's not. It's a game of inches. Whoa, hold on.
It's putting
We're saying the same thing.
Putting the parentheses sign there then makes it a numbers game, and it's like, well, you've never put your hand in the dirt.
Right.
You've never done that. You've never ran down the field as fast as you can and tried to smash your brain against somebody else's brain as fast as they could. Do that, then tell me about a percentage. Huh?
It's harder to do because you're a little woozy after that.
That's exactly right.
It's a disorienting experience.
I do wonder, and this would be to where players would have to say, and it may just all be anecdotal, is there an advantage to a degree of that last do or die? Is there extra pressure on the defense to say, if we don't get a stop here, we're going into overtime, as opposed to, if we don't get a stop here, we're still up 7? I don't know. Is there extra pressure on that? Is it more likely to convert on the last chance of a 2-point conversion as opposed to just in general sometime in the fourth quarter down 9? I have no idea. And if there is even a correlation to that, or if it's just simply anecdotal that over the course of a season, those odds are going to be pretty much where they are with 2-point conversions anyway.
Here's a little one that's a little bit different. The Chiefs defer every time they win a coin toss. That's a percentages game. Whatever they've decided, they said, hey, we'd rather you have the ball first because we want to have a possession starting the second half.
Yeah.
That's one of those little just like game strategy things the Chiefs very clearly have a plan for.
Because Andy Reid has seen that you get an advantage over the course of the season. And it's the only time in a game where you can have back-to-back possessions without a turnover. Yep. So we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Speaking of turnovers.
Can't wait for Matt Derrick to get in here at 11 and tell us why he disagrees with everything we just said for 20 minutes.
I don't know. I think he's on board. Speaking of turnovers, I went and looked at what the last 5 years of teams that won their conference, what the turnover differential was in the playoffs, since we've talked about the Chiefs being -5 this year. What does that look like? And kind of a surprising result that I found. We'll do that next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Dude, it was so nice. The family was gone. Wife was out of the house. I was all alone. Opened up the computer and just got into the salary cap. Oh, what a night.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll hear from Lee Sterling coming up in just a little bit. So I went down a rabbit hole because I wanted to know what the turnover differential was of these teams that have won their conference, because we had talked about, like, hey, if you're going to be -1, -2, that's how you lose in the playoffs. Good luck getting through to the Super Bowl and winning your conference if you're losing the turnover battle, constantly turning the football over. So I went the last 5 years, and that means 10 teams that won their conference, and also then looked at the Super Bowl as well. And I broke it down into two categories: what the turnover differential was to win their conference, and then what the turnover differential was when you throw in the Super Bowl as well. So there's 5 Super Bowl winners, but 10 Super Bowl teams, okay? What I found was that there really is no rhyme or reason to it. That's what I found. Like, my takeaway is there's no correlation between, like just to go through the year. I'm gonna leave one team out because I do think there's an outlier in this. Okay, 2017, the New England Patriots won the AFC. They were -1 in turnover differential in those two games combined. The Eagles won the NFC. They were +1 in the 2 games they played. And then the Super Bowl was even. They both had a couple of turnovers in that game, but Super Bowl was even. I think there were a couple of turnovers. Maybe there was only one apiece, but it was even. Nobody had the lead in that. 2018, the Patriots won the Super Bowl, but to get to the Super Bowl, they were even. So it's back-to-back years for the Patriots to play in the Super Bowl that they were combined in 4 games in the AFC -1 in turnover differential, which is really fascinating. And by the way, against the Chiefs in Kansas City, they were -2. The Chiefs won that AFC championship game, or played in that AFC championship game, and they won the turnover differential by 2. If they won it by 3, they would have won the game, but they did not, and they did not. And then the Rams that year, they were even to get to the Super Bowl, even in the Super Bowl. The Chiefs in 2019 were +3 to get to play San Francisco. That was all in the Houston game. They were +3 against the Texans. They were even against the Titans, even against the 49ers. Chiefs in 2020 were +1. The Cleveland game, they were +1. Big turnover down inside the 5-yard line, the goal line. Then they were -2 against Tampa, so they ended that postseason run -1. The Chiefs did for turnovers. 1 or 2 particular outliers in this. 2020 Tampa Bay. They were +3 to get to the Super Bowl, and then they were +2 in the Super Bowl. They ended their postseason run, now in 4 games, mind you. Some of these other teams only played 3. So they played 4 games, 3 games in the playoffs and 1 in the Super Bowl. They ended that run in those 4 games +5. +5. Their offense turned the ball over 4 times. They got 9 turnovers.
Good
that defense
Lord.
did for Tampa. 9 turnovers. And the biggest outlier, which team would you think is the biggest outlier out of the 10 teams in the last 5 years to win their conference? And this is not a continue to be sour grapes or anything. It's just all right, if you're in those situations, you might need to have some things fall your way.
I don't think the Cincinnati Bengals turned the ball over very much in that run.
In their 4 games they played,
which is more games than anyone with a first-round bye.
The 4 games they played, they turned the ball over twice in their 4 games. They took the ball away 9 times.
Good. 9 times?
9 times. The Bengals were +7. +7 last year in 4 games in turnover differential. In games they won by 5, 3, 3, and then ended up losing by a score. They won the turnover. I don't remember this. They won the turnover battle in the Super Bowl by 2. They were +2 over the Rams, which you can say, well, yeah, that's why it was a game. They were +1 over the Chiefs. Well, that last turnover was pretty significant. It was in overtime, and even the other interception by Mahomes. They were +2 against Tennessee. Pretty significant, especially an interception down inside the 10-yard line. They were +2 against the Raiders. Pretty significant. But offensively, they only gave it away twice. So it allowed their defense to go, and if their defense got 9, well, now they're all of a sudden they're +7. Like the Chiefs got 6 turnovers by their defense in 2019 in those 3 games because they turned the ball over 3 times, and they end up being +3 for those 3 games. But they only turned it over 3 times in 3 games against playoff teams.
Right.
Against teams, obviously, and 2 of those being an AFC championship game and a Super Bowl. Against teams that had pretty good defenses, Titans and 49ers.
Very good.
So
what was the worst differential to make it to a Super Bowl? The worst number?
The worst number to even get to the Super Bowl was the New England Patriots were -1 in 2017.
So maybe the correlation is that you must be this tall to ride because you will shoot yourself in the foot with turnovers. But that wide array of outcomes for the teams that did make it that far, it's really interesting.
9 out of 10 conference winners were plus or even in the turnover differential.
Okay.
The only one being New England, that was -1. -1. And 4 out of 5 Super Bowl winners were plus or even in their entire run. The only one being the Rams, who ended up -2 in their playoff run, and they won. But the Bengals last year were +7. +5 in the 3 games to get to the Super Bowl.
Crazy.
It helps. It can end or it can keep your season alive. It's, you know what? It's how you win 3 games in the playoffs in the AFC when your quarterback has 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
You can win 3 games. Why? Because your defense took it away 9 times.
And you didn't give it back.
Yeah, you didn't give it except for those 2 interceptions in the post. That's it. You did not give it back. That's right. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling, and we will hear from Lee Sterling coming up next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Briscoe, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810.
Who's going to win and by how much? You're about to find out from national sports handicapping champion Lee Sterling on The Zone. Log on to ParamountSports.com or call toll-free 800-400-9741 to get started.
It's that time on a Red Friday on The Zone to talk to Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports. We're right in the middle of it, Lee. It's the College Bowl extravaganza. It's Double Down December. This is an exciting time of year for your folks at Paramount Sports, isn't it?
It is. I mean, everyone's going to be watching these bowl games. Got 37 bowl games from Friday morning all the way through December 31st. So if anyone wants to get involved, all they need to do is go to ParamountSports.com. We've had some incredible bowl records. I've had to study more than I ever had because of, there's motivation is involved. That's important. All the opt-outs now, the injuries. So I think we've got it figured out. They want to get the last 2 weeks of the NFL season, and we've only had 3 losing weeks this year in the NFL. 37 bowl games. My selections on all those. Just go to ParamountSports.com. We've lowered the price just $197. Double down special. It's the first option, ParamountSports.com.
All right, that sounds great. Let's talk about some of those bowl games that we have coming up. And first up, we've got Missouri and Wake Forest. This is the Gasparilla Bowl. A lot of people up here were wanting Missouri to play Kansas in the Liberty Bowl, but this is the bowl we've got, the Gasparilla Bowl. Wake is a slight favorite in this game.
Yeah, and this is kind of strange because Sam Hartman has hit the transfer portal, but he's playing in the game. So I at least respect him for that. Most of these guys, they hit the portal. He's been linked to Florida and Tennessee and a few other SEC schools. On the other side, Missouri wide receiver Dominic Lovett is leaving in the transfer portal. But I think Luther Burden is the guy. I think he's the most talented receiver here. The Missouri defense, probably the best unit of the 4 on the field next Friday. Let's go the wrong team favorite here. Tigers upset Wake Forest 31-28.
Well, that'd be fun for him to get that bowl win, Eli Drinkwitz, first if he gets that done. All right, so the Liberty Bowl is going to be Kansas and Arkansas. Arkansas, basically a home game. They're right across the river. They'll get a good crowd there. They haven't had a great season. They're disappointed with being a 6-win team. The Jayhawks are as excited as they've ever been to be a 6-win team. This is one of those where motivation could be a factor. What do you think about this Liberty Bowl where the Arkansas Razorbacks are like a 3-point favorite?
Yeah, that is part of it, but they also might be down a little bit. They wanted to play Missouri, and Tigers refused to play him here. KJ Jefferson coming back to Arkansas, huge boost for them. They'll be without a couple of their top linebackers, but the biggest news, I think, when you watch these two teams here is Kansas' run defense, awful, allowing 193 yards per game here, 115th out of 131 teams. I think with a dual-threat quarterback like Jefferson, I think the task might be too tough here. I like Arkansas, 38-30.
Yeah, they can move the ball on the ground for sure. The Hogs can, and the Jayhawks haven't done a very good job of stopping that. All right, so this is a big one for K-State. They get a chance to play Alabama. They're already making shirts. We want Bama, and they're not getting the Bama that's in the college football playoff. And this will be a motivation thing as well. They haven't done as well, the Crimson Tide, in games where they're in this New Year's Six, but they're not playing for it all. Does K-State have a chance here to upset Alabama?
I think so. Now, looking from the outside, just look at talent. Bama 4 points away from a semifinal berth, and both the games that they lost by 1 and 3 points were on the last play of the game. But I just think that Bama is just going to go through the motions here. To them, whether they win or lose the game by a field goal or a touchdown, not going to change how they perceive their season, and I don't think it's going to affect recruiting here. I think their staff has really been hitting the trail trying to get those last couple guys on the fence, those 4 and 5 stars that they seem to load up on into the fold here. I just think that Deuce Vaughn is going to give him fits here. The 5'6" dynamo. Just love watching this kid here, and I think Will Howard will have some success against the safety and also this pass defense. So I expect Kansas State to give Bama all they can handle. I think they pull off the small upset here, 27-26.
Well, either way, it'll be New Year's Eve in New Orleans. That'll be fun for the Cat fans for sure. They'll have a good time. All right, so in one of the semifinals, we've got TCU. They ended up not winning the Big 12, but they got the bid after getting beaten by Kansas State in that Big 12 championship game. Michigan looks like a better team. TCU's kind of done it with smoke and mirrors a few times. But it doesn't matter who wins this game. It's how much can they win it by. I'm assuming you feel like the Wolverines are going to win this game, but will they cover this touchdown spread?
Yeah, great story for TCU. I think it went from 5-7 last year to 12-1. End up using Duggan as a backup to start the year. He has almost a Heisman season, becomes a Heisman runner-up. Problem here is I just think Michigan has the better offensive line in front seven. TCU is going to have to hit on some big plays and play error-free ball. I just don't think they can go toe-to-toe here with this Michigan team. And college football semifinalists who allow more than 23 points per game, which TCU fits the bill, 0-4 straight up and 1-3 the last 4 games against the spread here. So Michigan, I know, is 1-5-1 against the spread in bowls after beating Ohio State. They just have a different look this year. They look hungrier, more focused here. I just think that they're deeper here, and I think playing in that semifinal game last year will do them a bit of justice here. I like Michigan here, 34-20.
I get the feeling most of those teams in the semifinal that gave up 23 points a game were the Oklahoma Sooners. But that's just me, remembering those bad defenses. All right, Lee Sterling, let's talk a little NFL. The Chiefs had a 27-point lead last week on the road at Denver. Didn't end up covering the spread because they allowed the Broncos to get back in it. This feels like kind of a get-right day where they can kind of get it all together on Sunday against the Houston Texans. But the Texans fought really hard last week against the Cowboys. We're talking about a 2-touchdown spread on the road. The Chiefs are probably 2 touchdowns better than Houston, but will they get that done on Sunday?
Yeah, you got a good point there, Todd. And also remember, Houston uses the clock on offense. They are not going to come up to the line, do hurry up. They don't want to have 12, 14 possessions in the game. They'd like to have 7 or 8. Then they have a better chance to stay in this game. 3-game lead here for Kansas City in the division. I think they got bigger fish to fry here in the playoffs. So, 3rd straight road game here and 4th out of 5 for Kansas City. They're only 5-8 against the spread here, and like I said, this is a hefty road line, one of the biggest I've ever seen here. Houston put up a really good effort last week before they lost in the final minute here, and Davis Mills looked better at quarterback, and they just control that clock, and they take advantage if they get some takeaways here, and if they get 2 takeaways, this game may go right down to the wire. I have Kansas City winning 27-20, but like I said, I think the line's too high, just like last week. I think Kansas City wins 27-20, but I'll take the 14 points.
All right, Lee, you've got a free play for us. Big game. A lot of Chiefs fans will be watching on Saturday night between Buffalo and Miami, and you've got specials for us.
Yep, they want to get the game of the week, Buffalo and Miami. Just call 800-400-9741. Give them the Bills and the Dolphins for free. 800-400-9741. We won 13 out of 18 weeks since the start of the preseason. Only had 3 losing weeks in the NFL. Anyone wants to come on board, just $197. That's right, we lowered the price. It's called the Double Down December Special. You get 37 bowl games. Well, I'll give you all our selections on 37 bowl games starting from today all the way through December 31st, and also 2 weeks of the NFL, $197. ParamountSports.com, or call 800-400-9741.
Sounds great. We will talk to you again on Sunday on Chiefs Tailgate. The Zone will roll on next on a Red Friday on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
You're in the Zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
If what you're saying is true, then that means I still don't care.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Beards, heading up until 2 o'clock. We'll talk with Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest, hanging out with us. Kendall Gammon coming up at noon. He will be in studio with us as well. So we will talk with Kendall at noon. Hear from Mick Shaffer about 12:30 or so. Andy Reid. We got what's on tap. We got the cuts still to come. And then we may, if we have time, I don't know. Don't know if I have enough time for, Home Depot and Bed Bath & Beyond, both of them. It's a nice little Saturday planned. We may get an update on the ZOUs and where it stands right now with the group that is trying to not buy lunch.
I think we should definitely make time to look at those because I'm pretty sure I've had a pretty good couple of weeks.
You don't have to be the fastest swimmer. You just can't be the slowest.
That's right.
When the shark is in the water. So you don't have to win this. You just don't want to lose it. Because losing it then means you have to buy or go and ask for gift cards or whatever. You guys have just been, ridiculous. I pay like $150 for everybody to get some food, and then everybody else is grabbing, it's ridiculous that you guys ask for ribeyes and filet mignon for a lunch.
I'm happy to be waited on, really. I mean, that's the thing for me. I don't really care how you pay for it. I care that it's brought to me on a silver bleeping platter.
And also, really, it's more about the making fun of the others.
Yes.
Or the other that ended up losing, the dummies that did not know what the heck they were doing. So.
The competition of breaking news, Jason.
What?
League source per Adam Schefter. NFL fined Broncos wide receiver Jerry Jeudy $23,000.
That's it?
And $30 for making contact with an official during Sunday's game versus the Chiefs.
What?
That extra $30, totally unnecessary.
$23,000
and $30.
And 30.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah,
yep.
23,030.
Correct.
And 45 cents. I'm not sure why they
they
didn't
didn't include the actual cents, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Some like percentage scale or whatever that apparently came. What was the fine for Jesse Bates for faking the injury?
50?
I think his was 50, but the Saints as an organization got a lot of money.
Let's think about that for a second.
Yeah.
Jesse Bates faked an injury.
Yeah.
And was fined $50,000. Jerry Jeudy rips his helmet off, is doing some odd yelling hand motion while screaming and walking over to the official, is then screaming at the official, then bumps the official.
Refs don't care about officials, or NFL doesn't care about officials.
And he gets less than half the fine of the coach is saying, "Hey, go down. We need to make a sub here." I got a cramp here. I got a cramp. $50,000 for a fake cramp. $23,000 for actually bumping and screaming and yelling and cursing at an official and ripping your helmet off because, well, I felt like I was held on the play, as he said. I feel bad about that, but I was getting held on the play. Oh, well, then, you shouldn't be fined at all. In fact, the official should be fined because he didn't call the hold, which you felt you were being held there, so it's all good then.
Think outside the box. I think what the NFL needs to do is make an example out of Jerry Jeudy here. And you say, Jerry, here's what we're sentencing you to. 5 years of not unpaid because, you're still a human being, but non-salary cap relevant service to the Kansas City Chiefs. And so he has to play for the Chiefs for the next 5 years. The Broncos keep paying his salary, but it doesn't apply to the Chiefs' salary cap because the Broncos are also really they're also brought into all of this. So they're punished for their role. I think the NFL's got to get creative, force Jerry Jeudy to play for the Chiefs instead of the Broncos. Everybody's happy.
I want to hear what Matt Derrick's idea for a punishment for Jerry Jeudy would be. Here's my thinking outside the box punishment for Jerry Jeudy. Jerry, we are not going to fine you, but for at least the next 2 years after this year, you do have to play with Russell Wilson.
Oh, Jason, that's a punishment.
Pretty fair.
Too
It's pretty
cruel for
fair.
America.
So
That's better what I was coming up, which was going to play for the Houston Texans for the next 2 years.
That's also
well,
bad.
hopefully not this weekend.
Yeah.
You don't need other bad quarterbacks finding Jerry Jeudy wide open.
Entertaining. I'm sure it'd be a feisty game.
Would the Chiefs be able to guard Jeudy a little better this week if he played than last week when they played him for the first time with the young cornerbacks when he had 9 targets and 8 receptions, 3 of those being touchdowns. But not just the 3 touchdowns. I mean, they threw it to him 9 times. He caught 8 of them. 9 times.
I will say this, even though I've seen a fair amount of Broncos games because they were unfortunately scheduled on primetime way too many times.
Yes, I like that horse sound.
That was unintentional, but man, that was awesome. I'll take the credit for that. Russell Wilson's not as bad as I felt that he was earlier. I'm not
because
completely
you watched
convinced,
him against the Chiefs.
I'm not
and he looked better?
I'm not completely convinced that Russell Wilson is washed up. I am convinced that the Broncos' offensive line is washed up. That's a bad offensive line when it was healthy, and when it's not healthy, it's even worse. They got some pieces. There's some things. Russell Wilson is, and Russell Wilson's at the risk of tempting the fate from high above and the gods of Olympus and everything. Russell Wilson's a heck of a lot better quarterback than whomever may take snaps this weekend from the Texans.
Well, they have combined though. They have
that was
taken
a reluctant sigh from Josh Brisco.
Yeah, I think he's technically telling the truth.
Well, when you have the scrambling and rushing yards that Russell Wilson picked up in the game, so then you combine Davis Mills and then
Jeff
Driscoll.
Yeah.
Is that sort of the same? Davis Mills' ability with Russell Wilson passing and then Jeff Driscoll's legs only.
If you brought them both together and then they had 4 legs and 4 arms.
Ooh.
How about that?
Better than Russell Wilson?
Are we talking like a centaur or?
Yeah, it's a spider at that point actually because it would be 8 limbs.
Okay, so
and
instead of 6,
and
it'd
a
be 8,
very long neck.
I feel like the extra arms would be a problem more than an addition.
It would look more like a starfish, I think.
I don't know what that creature is in mythology, but
I don't either.
I'm actually intrigued about a Minotaur quarterback.
How do they get around like that? It's very odd how they wobble almost.
I feel like you'd rather want a Minotaur at tight end, but that's just me.
Yeah, that Rob Gronkowski is actually a Minotaur. He had some cosmetic surgery to hide that fact. That's what made him so hard to guard.
His parents were both Minotaurs, but somehow he got just the human parts.
Yeah, that's right. George Kittle is a werewolf, but he has not actually attempted to hide that.
Yeah, he had a good game last night. Good for George Kittle.
I like
good
George
Brock
Kittle,
Purdy.
man.
He's fine.
I like all this golden age of NFL tight ends. I know lots of people don't.
You know why I don't like George Kittle and has nothing to do with him?
It's because of Travis Kelce criticisms.
No, it's because it's because Kyler Murray did that damn photo shoot like he's Bo Jackson. No, it's a callback from a couple of days ago when I said I'm not a big fan of Kyler Murray based on that specifically and I know it's unreasonable, but still that's me. The reason I just can't stand George Kittle, outside of the whole Travis Kelce thing, I don't even care about that. It's during the 49ers game in the Super Bowl, sitting up in the overflow, and the section next to the media overflow was all 49ers, essentially, 49er fans. Every freaking time George Kittle caught the ball, all of the 49ers people getting up and doing that little 3 little drop thing, and they would look at Chiefs fans. They would find a Chiefs fan and then do it right to them.
Like they had just burnt you.
Right. And it was so annoying because, they were winning. And especially in the second half when the Chiefs were doing nothing and Kelce was doing nothing and Kittle's catching the ball and 49ers fans are cocky and just looking around, even looking at some of the media members, like, dropping the little 3 thing, whatever he does. Mm-hmm. Oh, and boy, did I really enjoy the fourth quarter when Chiefs fans, every time they picked up a first down, would look at the 49ers fans and do the little George Kittle thing. especially at the end when the Chiefs were rolling and running away from 49ers in that one. That was fun. But it's just ever since then, I'm like, you know what? Bleep George Kittle. I just can't stand it. Can't stand it.
Can't believe he did that to you.
It's not his fault.
You know, I love Josh Anderson's rational hatred of people.
Who I don't like.
me?
I don't want Josh Anderson coming out of here.
Irrational hatred is even better.
Who is Josh Anderson?
What about Jason?
Did I
You
call
said
Josh?
Beards,
Oh my gosh.
Beards, save that and then burn it and
goodness.
then don't podcast it and dump
Did
it.
I really?
Hold on.
Did I pull a Jason Anderson by calling him Josh Anderson?
That's right.
Yeah.
And so that's let's see, James.
I'm having a heck of a day so far.
James, Josh, and this week earlier I was called Seren by Adam Seisher.
That was good. That one was.
We can make a montage of the.
Well, that's
hey,
pretty,
Seren, how are you?
That's pretty bad.
James Anderson.
That one's.
Well,
so
Josh
shameless.
Anderson's irrational.
Okay, so Matt, take two. Can we run that one back? Can we?
Also, who's Josh Anderson?
Can we just start over?
That was a rewinding noise for you.
Who is Josh Anderson?
Is there a Josh Anderson? Let's
Well,
find out.
I'm guessing there's a Josh Anderson in the world.
There's a Josh
I'm
Anderson
sure
who's a
there's
professional hockey
thousands.
player.
I believe I went to high school
There
with
you
a
go.
guy named Josh Anderson.
Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah. You know, there's a motocross racer, one of the best, named Jason Anderson.
Is there really?
Absolutely.
Is there a Jason Briscoe though?
I'll
That's
look.
the real question.
There's
Probably
a
with an
Josh
E.
Anderson that played for the Royals.
Oh, really?
Yes, there was.
That's what you were thinking of, Matt.
There you go. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah,
you
must
mean-
have. Must have been
you were a
thinking
ball
of that.
player. You played a few years for the Royals.
That's
see.
yeah.
I
That
Hit
you,
one
you
home
could
run.
See, there you go, huh? It's like Moonlight Graham. He'll always have that home run. in his
Oh,
life.
the highest honor here. In July 30th, 2009, Anderson was traded to the Kansas City Royals for...
in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Traded to the Royals 4.
In 2009.
Big name here. This name has been traded a few times, and you are going to certainly recognize it.
Blake Stein.
No.
Sorry, we were looking for cash considerations.
Damn it.
Cash consideration.
PTBNL.
I did go to high school with cash consideration.
I went to high school with a guy named PTNBL. And those weren't even initials. That was just what his name was. It was PTNBL Jefferson. It's weird.
I just after Moneyball, I always assumed that cash considerations are sodas, and it's like, hey, we'll send you Josh Anderson, but you got to stock our soda machine. The guys like Coke Zero.
Yeah, I like George Kittle last night. I had him in a same game parlay to have over 40 yards receiving. So
There's a corporate paralegal named Jason Brisco. No E.
And they spell it correctly.
They spelled it correctly.
Wow. Okay. Very cool.
There's a Jason Brisco with an E who I will be declaring Twitter war on immediately.
I've successfully derailed the show once again, and I apologize.
It's all good. Like I said, we'll talk Chiefs with Matt Derrick or whatever we may end up getting into, and that is different names and combining different names. Is there a Beards Anderson
Oh, I'll look into it.
or a Beards Briscoe?
Jason McFly?
By the way, Beards Briscoe, definitely a pirate.
Yeah.
Definitely a pirate.
He was a Gasparillo.
No. Arr, it's me, Beards Briscoe. I'm here for your booty.
I guess. Whoa, pardon?
Your treasure.
Most of the beard related stuff is like merch with beards on it, which isn't that good. And then it's Sports Radio 810 WHB. Beards, we did it. Woo!
Awesome. And the pirate Beards Briscoe. So the Houston game this weekend.
Yeah.
You compared Russell Wilson and is he better than Davis, Driscoll? Or Jeff Mills.
Exactly.
Is that part of the only intriguing aspect of this game as to the quarterbacks that they'll be using? There's a number of things that we probably want to see from the Chiefs, but just in the lead up to this game, it's like, ooh, how do you break it down? What do you care about? Well, not much when it comes to the actual matchup, except, I don't know, Driscoll, Mills, there's some interest. Other than that,
I'm intrigued that you're trying to find anything intriguing
Thank you.
about this
I appreciate
game.
it. I'm trying. I was grasping at straws. There's a straw down here on the floor.
I think the far as I can go, the Houston Texans quarterback situation.
There was a straw on the
Literally
floor.
grasping at straws.
Wow.
There.
Wow.
That was a good pull.
That
Thank you.
was a good pull.
Oh, that was so close.
This has been the most Friday show we've ever had.
Man.
And I love
I
it.
didn't see it because I did close my eyes. Even though I
Jason
have glasses
almost just
on.
hit Matt with a paper straw headshot right
I've
there.
never been
Please.
able to do that before.
Please tell me that's on Twitch.
You're natural. It had to be. That had to be
yeah.
streamed
I had
somewhere,
the
right?
camera on you
All
guys
right.
for that
I have
one.
Thank
never
goodness.
been able to do
That's-
that before. That's the first time ever.
It was pitch perfect. I think there's another straw somewhere else in here, so if you're gonna get
yeah.
another shot at Matt,
That'll be the one that breaks the camel's back.
That needs
so,
to be that's an ESPN Sports Center top 10 right
oh,
there.
I wish it would have hit your glasses or
If that would've
something.
it was going right for you, and then it peeled just to the right at the last second, and it went right by your ear.
I'm gonna try to get the highlight out on Twitter for the
Goodness.
show here.
I did close my eyes just because I didn't want to get poked in the eye, even though I have my glasses on.
So you've got you got a
So-
force field there for your eyes. You're perfectly
I had
fine.
some protection, so there wasn't really any reason. I could have just ridden that ride.
Yes. Okay, so I'm kind of looking for something of the game, but it's really all going to be about what the Chiefs do, right? It's going to be about the Chiefs judged against themselves. The last 4 weeks, kind of.
I mean, the Texans quarterback situation, as far as I can, aggressive as I can be in describing it, is I think more of a curiosity than even intrigue, because I imagine they're going to do the same thing, and that's what I'd probably do if I'm the Texans, because they got nothing. I mean, there's nothing that they can do. And looking at it, I mean, that was their best performance of the year last week.
Do they? The other question I would have is, do they have anything left?
No, I think they emptied it all out.
I've seen a consensus Chiefs minus the points, and a lot of the analysis is Chiefs are mad about the way they played against Denver, and proving that they're better than that, while the Texans left it all out on the field against the Cowboys, and can they bounce back against another really good team and give it a go?
Sure, but we heard they were mad against the Bengals from the playoff game last year.
And I'll be honest, I don't.
Well, the last time they were mad,
I sense a lot of anger out of that game.
Well, I mean,
from the Chiefs.
I think there's maybe not anger, but I think there's. I think Mahomes is mad.
They weren't mad. They were disappointed.
Yeah, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Exactly.
Yes, that's right. They're and Denver feels even worse now,
They
because it's
would've
one thing
felt-
if the Chiefs were mad at them, but then just being disappointed in them. That's what's really rough. That hurts you. It's right to your heart.
Can't be angry over a win. You could be disappointed that you didn't put a team away more than you did.
So what do you make of Eric Bieniemy saying yesterday that on Wednesday, Patrick Mahomes was still talking about one of the interceptions he threw, that he was almost like kicking himself still about, I knew what they were in, and I gone over there. And Eric Bieniemy said, dude, it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. Now, a couple things. One, hey, get ready for the Texans, because any given Sunday. Or Mahomes is pretty pissed off about his 3 turnovers,
I think he
and
was pretty
he's going to
annoyed
come
by
out.
I think he's pretty annoyed by one of the turnovers.
And he's going to come out on Sunday against the team that left it all out there against the Cowboys, and can they bounce back? And I think a number of Chiefs are, like Kelsey, still talking about, his fumble against the Bengals, even in a podcast form. And saying that he did not play well against the Broncos. At back-to-back weeks, he feels like he's let his team down to a degree.
Well, and one of the things that you love as Chiefs fans about Patrick Mahomes is that he's able to generate motivation for himself in any situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, honestly, if that's what it takes, there's nothing else to get motivated this week. So if being mad about an interception last week gets you hyped up for this week, great. Because what else are you going to get hyped up about this week?
Do you think he is, one, aware, and 2, is concerned with the MVP voting right now?
I am sure that he is aware
that he's no longer the betting favorite.
I don't think he cares.
Okay.
Really don't think he cares. I generally feel like his philosophy on the whole thing is winning cures all, and if he wins the rest of the way out, he'll probably be MVP. I don't think he's concerned about winning MVP. I don't think he's trying to go out there and win it. Like I said, that's all evidence of covering this guy over the years, is that he doesn't care about any awards as long as they get wins.
I do wonder, though, because all season long he's been a guy who was catching the betting favorites ahead of him. Then he became the betting favorite when he went on the crazy run of averaging 380 yards per game for like 5 weeks, and had back-to-back 400-yard games and all these touchdowns and things like that. And then he went to the heavy favorite where you're not going to lose the MVP. Just go out there and be, just regular Mahomes. And then he has a 3-interception game, and Jalen Hurts has been awesome, and now he's not the betting favorite again. I wonder if there's part of that that's sort of like, I'm better than what I did, and there's I think it's 350-3 this weekend, honestly, against the Texans. I think it's 350, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and Mahomes is going to try to announce himself that, hey, no, I'm still here, and we'll see what Hurts ends up doing the next couple of weeks against the Bears and the Cowboys. But I think I don't know if it's at the forefront, but I think if there's a matter of padding some stats, I don't think he would mind doing that in a game or two the rest of the way. Because he also can break Peyton Manning's record. If he averages 330 yards per game in the last 4 weeks, by the way, he's averaging 320. So he would need to average 10 more yards per game the last 4 weeks than he has all season long, and he would surpass Peyton Manning's 5,477 yards.
And I personally think, from just being around this team, that the funny thing is that there's probably people on the team and around him that care more about it than he does.
I do believe that. I do think that's that.
And like I said, I
probably Chiefs fans.
I truly feel like he's the byproduct of, hey, if we win 14 games and are number 1 seed and go to the Super Bowl and win that's what it all matters. And yeah, if he breaks a record and wins MVP, pretty cool. And I probably shouldn't tell this story because it'll probably be taken the wrong way with my somewhat joking. But Adam Teicher and I did present an MVP award to Patrick Mahomes, and I sincerely I'm pretty sure that that trophy's got to be in somebody's office. I'm sure he just gave it away to somebody, but.
What was the MVP?
It was the Pro Football Writers of America Most Valuable Player Award for 2018.
And you think he did? Was he just not happy? Or was he just thanks, man, and then tossed it behind him?
He was like, "Hey, thanks, that's cool." We smiled, posed for pictures, but
here you go, Jackson.
Yeah.
So now you got one too.
Is it a nursery now?
You the real MVP, Bronzy.
How many awards do you have to get before it becomes like, yeah, that's cool?
I'm just working on my first.
He's got let's just say that he's got one. So let's not act like he's already got 2 or 3 in the bag, and it's like let's just go out and play football. He's got one.
That's a man who's got a lot of trophies though in the trophy case.
Did you entice Teicher offer to sign it for him or anything? Did he ask for the picture with you guys? Probably for the association.
Brad G took the picture for us.
That's good. Okay, very good.
Here's why
nobody really asked. Brad just kind of told us, and we do what Brad says.
That's fair. Yeah.
Here's where I think it kind of matters. And nothing for whether the Chiefs win the Super Bowl or not. And I don't care about the MVP quarterbacks haven't won a Super Bowl since Kurt Warner. That's fine, whatever. Heisman Trophy winners don't win national championships. Oh, okay, sure.
That seems more of just a coincidence than a correlation. But
yeah, I totally agree with that. What I don't want is, okay, Mahomes had an awesome year, but Rodgers had a better. Mahomes had an amazing year, but Jalen Hurts was the new guy, and it was fun. Mahomes did this, and then Herbert was amazing. Mahomes did that, but then it was Burrow. And you look back, and somehow Steve Nash has more MVPs than Shaq. You know what I mean? Like you look back and go, how is one of the most dominant centers of all time have 1 MVP? And Steve Nash has 2. Because when you get further and further in, you start to normalize the brilliance and the greatness of Patrick Mahomes, and it does become a narrative game, if all things being equal. If he can just get this one this year, which is, being as heavy of a betting favorite as he was with 5 weeks to play, if he can get this one this year, he's got to. And then after that, you sort of move on. And if he gets 3 or 4, you feel like he's already got a couple underneath his belt. But if he doesn't get it this year, you would be talking about multiple years of him being right there and finishing like 2nd or 3rd. And you don't want to be the Phil Mickelson of the U.S. Open and finishing 2nd, 15 times, however many times it was, but finishing 2nd all those times. I think it matters for the outside. I think it matters for those of us that may talk about, is Patrick Mahomes the greatest of all time? I think you're going to need multiple MVPs and multiple Super Bowls to be considered the greatest. I've always said I can't consider a quarterback to be the greatest of all time until he gets at least 2 Super Bowls. So Peyton Manning wasn't even in discussion for the greatest of all time until the Broncos Super Bowl. And I know that was defensive-led, but he has 2 rings. Elway has 2 rings. I don't put you in the conversation and say that you are the GOAT until you have 2. Now, he might get a ring in 5 years, 6 years, whatever it might be. But I think when you've got an opportunity with 4 weeks to play and it's a 2-horse race to win the MVP, I think there's got to be an element in there somewhere, the competitor in him that wants to win games, but also wants to be recognized because I was picked 4th best player in the league by players. 1, 2, 3, 4, Lamar. I was picked 10th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Trubisky. There's that element of Patrick Mahomes that's got that bleep you to him.
Oh, I have no doubt that if Patrick Mahomes needed to use the MVP for motivation, he would use it for motivation. But he's just like the rest of us. And to your point, he knows what it takes to be considered the greatest of all time. It's not MVPs, it's rings. And that's what he cares about. And I think that's ultimately if he won 7 Super Bowls and only had one MVP,
I'll sign up for that right now.
He'd take it right now.
I'll take that right now.
He'd take it to the house.
Because ultimately, I was talking about this with a friend, and we were talking about the MVP, and he was like, well, a quarterback hasn't won the MVP in the Super Bowl. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't matter. But if that's going to continue, then I'm a Chiefs fan, and Mahomes plays for the Chiefs. So I love Patrick Mahomes because he's the best quarterback I've ever seen play, and he plays for the team I root for. That is great. But if Mahomes played for the Bucks next year, I'm rooting for the Chiefs. And whatever quarterback is quarterbacking the Chiefs, I'm not going to switch to being a Bucks fan. So I would rather Mahomes have Super Bowls than MVPs.
Because I couldn't tell you how many MVPs Tom Brady has, but I know how many.
That's
rings
funny.
he's got.
That's a really good point.
I think it might be 3, but I'm guessing.
But that's a really good point.
I was going to guess 4, but that's a total guess.
Because when we talk about like GOATs and basketball and stuff, it's like Jordan's got 5, right? MVPs.
He's got
6 finals.
Brady has 5.
Brady's got
and
5.
None of us here knew that.
See?
Yeah.
Brady's got 5 and he got 7. LeBron's got 4 and 4, so it's 5 for Jordan and 6 NBA Finals MVPs.
Kareem has the most with 6.
Kareem's got 6, so you get 6, 5, and then 4, and then a number of people with 3. But it's a great point. It's a great point. What does he have? 2 or 3? He's got 5. Phenomenal point. Absolutely, man.
Oh, breaking news from the NFL world, friends. Adam Schefter has had to use Twitter's new edit button feature because those numbers on that Jerry Jeudy fine.
230,000?
League source, NFL fined Broncos wide receiver Jerry Jeudy $23,020 for making contact with an official on Sunday's game versus the Chiefs.
That is so much better than getting a decimal point or a comma in the wrong spot. That is so much better.
Schefter,
They knocked $10 off that day.
Schefter used the edit button to knock $10 off his report of Jerry Jeudy's fine. It went down $10 from where it was 20 minutes ago.
It's the holiday season. There's percentage off and a lot of things.
Just jealous of the edit button, man.
That's right. All right, we'll take a timeout. I'm going to talk to Matt Derrick about some red zone defense by the Chiefs and looking at what they've done this year and a really, really fascinating element and sort of part of the overall red zone defense for the Chiefs that was really surprising, shocking, fascinating, and maybe be something that we can look into as the season goes into the postseason. We'll do that next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson
That's a clown take, bro.
on Sports Radio 810.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson, Josh Brisco, Beards, Matt Derrick hanging out with us. Barn burner in the hometown Lenders Bahamas Bowl. UAB is up 10-0 on Miami of Ohio.
Oh,
they do have the ball, though.
I gotta go. I gotta sell my house.
They do have the ball.
10-0 already?
Already.
I gotta
Now
get
it's,
on.
not only already, there's 6 minutes to go in the second quarter, but still.
I gotta hedge.
Throw out the record books when those two teams get together.
Yes.
That's what I get for betting against dragons.
Yeah, you do throw out the record books. They're both 6-6, so I don't know. Are there record books in this one? Okay, so the Chiefs. Do you guys know where the Chiefs rank in red zone defense in percentage? Of,
I should.
red zone defense.
I do not.
Beards, what do you think? Where do you think they rank?
There are 32 teams in the NFL. Just to refresh your memory. Red zone defense percentage given up.
Oh, they got to be like second or third, right?
I'm gonna say 31st or 32nd.
Second or third, like best or worst?
Best.
Second or third best in red zone defense.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say second or third worst. Matt, what do you think?
24.
They're 32nd.
Oh, are they really?
They are
so close.
They are
Wow,
dead
man,
last.
Beards, you were so far off. That's crazy, dude. Wow, what a good stat.
They are dead last.
I'm gonna say that they're third best.
They have surrendered 30 touchdowns on 44 red zone trips. Have the Chiefs for dead last. Around
suboptimal.
Around 40% is leading the league. Okay, so we see games and teams are getting into the red zone. That bend but don't break is not really happening with this Chiefs team. If you look through the Chiefs' schedule, this is what surprised me, and where we can talk about how it relates positively or negatively in the playoffs. If you look through the Chiefs' schedule, who are the best teams that the Chiefs have played? Like the ones that stand out.
You want to go offensively? Because I've been thinking about the Niners.
Just teams overall.
Tonight,
Buffalo,
last
Cincinnati.
night.
Buffalo, Cincinnati.
Chargers twice.
Good
teams. Cardinals were more interesting in week 1.
But I mean, just looking back,
They were never interesting.
Like looking back, who were the best teams they've played? Like now that we know what they are, like Rams, beginning of the season. No, that doesn't count.
Bills, Bengals, maybe Chargers. I would say Niners. That they're different from them, but
they haven't lost since.
Yeah.
Okay. So while the Chiefs have given up 68% red zone trips for touchdowns against Buffalo, San Francisco, and Cincinnati, those three teams combined got to the red zone 16 times. Give me a number in which they converted those into touchdowns.
I'm going to say 1. Beards, 2's open for you if you'd like it.
Beards was going to say 1. Damn it!
I'll take 2.
2? All right, Matt, an actual guess. Since we're talking about the Chiefs, almost 70%.
I mean, I feel like I should probably say 16, but I'm going to go 15.
Those three teams are 7 of 16 in the red zone against the Chiefs.
Man.
Buffalo, San Francisco, and Cincinnati. Buffalo was 2 for 4, including 0 for 1 in goal to go. San Francisco was 2 for 5.
About the San Francisco game. Yeah,
San Francisco was 2 for 5. Cincinnati was 3 of 7 in the red zone.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's true.
Cincinnati was 3 of 7 in the red zone.
Completely whiffed on that one. That was a bad answer.
I just thought about this. 3 of 7. Are they really 3 of 6? Does it count when they take knees and they don't score when they got down inside the 20-yard line on that last pass to T. Higgins?
I was about to ask if you're usually red zone 6 has like touchdown scoring, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I'm gonna that. Yeah,
I'm
gonna back that out.
I'm gonna back that up. Back that up.
Back that thing up, Jason.
3 of 6. So that would make them 7 of 15 in those 3 games. Any theory, thought behind the best teams at the Chiefs? 49ers haven't lost since playing the Chiefs. Buffalo's the 1 seed, and Cincinnati might be the 3 seed. And yet those are the teams that when they got down inside the red zone, they struggled to score against the Chiefs.
I can turn this into a question for Matt, who might know better than I do.
Theories, coincidence?
What
do you think?
This is maybe a theory, and Matt, tell me if you think that this sounds reasonable or not. We talk all the time about using your good stuff in key situations as an offense, but Steve Spagnuolo blitzes constantly, likes to show different looks while doing that. I've had a couple conversations over the last couple of weeks about, like, hey, how much gas is left in this defense's tank in terms of, like, what blitzes they could call to show a quarterback something they haven't seen yet? My theory might be, in addition to just the field being shorter down there and whatnot, that wouldn't change from against better teams, Is there a chance that Spags is dialing up the good stuff down there, or is there something else like personnel-wise I'm not thinking
Let me
of?
get in my bag now that this is a good team we're playing, and we're not going to be as vanilla because we may be bend but don't break. But don't break means we need to play inside the 20 and force field goals. That's how we beat this team.
Yeah, I mean, to me it's hard to put a finger on, but I do kind of go back to, for me at least, the philosophy of the fact that you're talking about, once again, red zone is probably as much strategy. I think it's probably even more emotional and energy than it is in other parts of the field. And that circles back to me. The Chiefs have higher energy level, more motivation. I think they're more focused and dialed in against the better teams than the lesser teams. Because once again, you can't give that 110% performance every single week. And yet the Chiefs face that almost every single week from teams. But yeah, they're naturally going to be more juiced up for the bigger games.
So is it encouraging that even though we're talking about the Chiefs dead last in red zone defense on the season, that the 3 games in which it was like, hey, these were the best teams that they have played this year, San Francisco, Cincinnati, and Buffalo, that those are the games in which they've had the best red zone defense in terms of conversion rate against, that if they get into the Super Bowl, that maybe there's more than a coincidence, that maybe this is a trend, that there was something Spagnuolo was doing in those games that was different than, let's say, Tennessee was 2 for 2 and the Broncos were 3 for 3 and Raiders were 1 for 1, but Bucks were 4 for 4. I don't think you went into that game saying, oh, let's throw the vanilla stuff out here, because at that time it was like, hey, this is the Bucks. They're one of the best teams in the NFC. But just interesting looking back, the best teams are 7 of 15.
Well, this would be a anecdotal look and everything, but I think I'd almost be intrigued to look at a bigger picture of multiple years and even Spags just long term, because I almost feel like that's a Spags trademark to a degree, is that his defenses are better against better teams, not necessarily the quality of the offenses. They're just better against better teams, and I'm not sure. I don't have no evidence that that's true. I just feel like it's an anecdotal observation.
The one thing that they have not done well, though, even in some of the games where we talk about, in those games, the red zone, goal-to-go situations. There have been 21 goal-to-go situations against the Chiefs this year. They've given up touchdowns on 18 of 21. That if a team gets inside the 10-yard line and gets a new set of downs, they score a touchdown. The 3 times a team did not score a touchdown, pick 6 against the Chargers. Buffalo 4th and 3 when McKenzie sort of tripped and fell, but he was open, but he tripped and fell. That was a stop, though. And then Jacksonville had a 1st and goal at the 4, ineligible downfield, incomplete, sack, kicked a field goal from like the 20-yard line. Those are the only 3 times a team has had a goal to go against the Chiefs and didn't score a touchdown.
Was the Dunlap Bengals play not goal to go?
It was not.
It was just down there.
It was fourth and
I was thinking.
It was at the 3 or 4.
Yeah,
right.
Like
it wasn't actually goal to go. That's funny.
But if that was 1st and goal from the 4-yard line, if they would have picked up the first down there,
right,
then it would have been okay. Now it's 1st and goal,
and then they would have scored.
And of course,
yes, and then your stat would have still been right. Yeah,
they would have scored, or maybe they would have stopped them then as well.
No,
and it would be 18 of 22. I don't know. Now, I don't know what that compares to the other teams in the NFL. I didn't look and wasn't going to. It just as it specifically relates to the Chiefs. If we're talking about bend but don't break and forcing field goals, 2 things to this. 1, if the field is shortened, does it make the blitz less effective or something like that? 2, teams that play the Chiefs know that field goals don't win, so they have to get in their bag inside goal to go, and maybe more 4th down attempts, maybe more let's get creative, maybe more we're not saving anything for any other week. This is where we're using our good stuff against the Chiefs in goal to go situations. Those are the couple things that I thought of in just like teams know field goals, you can't beat the Chiefs with field goals. We have to score touchdowns when we get this close. Therefore, do what it takes.
Now, the other possibility with this is just that that's what the Chiefs are. That if you look at this defense as an aggregate, what is it? Is it a top 16 defense? Is it a top 24 defense? I mean, I think that looking at the total numbers, and I'm not just talking about looking at points or yards allowed. I'm just talking about looking at, the whole picture. What are the Chiefs? I think they're probably in that third quadrant. I mean, I think they're probably give or take around 24.
DVOA, they're number 25.
And that's a problem. I mean, that's a concern. And if you're going to be the 24th or 25th best defense in the league, you're going to be 32 and something.
That's a good point.
I mean, that's just kind of the take on it. I mean, if you're there, you're going to be 32. I don't expect you to be fourth in anything like sacks or something, but yet.
Because it's the whole, bend but don't break. They're not. It's bend but break.
Bend but break.
They're dead last. It would be different if they're look at all the yards they're giving up. They're 28th in total yards, but 4th in red zone defense. Okay, bend but don't break. No, they're 32nd.
This team just badly needs some turnovers. Let's just get it down to it. This team needs
We've been
some
talking about a
turnovers.
lot of turnovers this week. By the way, bend but don't break is also Jason's philosophy for radio.
Bend but break was my philosophy for life. So
Beards would like him to run a bend and break show.
Yes. We will.
That's a great segue.
We will break on this one point against Buffalo, San Francisco, and Cincinnati. The red zone percentage would be good enough for number 2 in the NFL for the Chiefs. If you just looked at those 3 games, that percentage of 46% touchdown conversion would be the second best in the NFL. Well, just odd that they're that good against the best teams. We'll take a timeout. More Zone next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Sometimes when my eyes are glazed over, it means I'm not paying attention, and more often it means I'm really working on a barbecue pun.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Kendall Gammon will be hanging out with us in studio coming up in the next segment. Right now, Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest, hanging out with us. Just want to pass along the conversation we just had, guys, or do you want to?
No, just remind me to also mention it to Mick, because I think he might be the one to do a show about it for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's some future programming.
Yeah, I feel
be alert for future programming notices.
Okay.
Major announcement from Joshua Brisco.
There have just been listen, don't oversell it, Matt. There have just been some really fascinating additions to the reality TV world over the last couple of days.
Yeah, you just gave it away.
No, it could be anything. I just think it might really be up the alley of Mick Shaffer and Zach Wilson.
It's called MILF Manor, is what he's talking about.
Now that gave it away.
In case people didn't know what it's called.
It's on the Learning Channel. It seems family friendly.
TLC.
Yeah.
You know, it's the more you know, the more you learn. Daniel Jeremiah put out his top 25 rookies into the 3 quarters.
And 8 of them are going to be on this island on MILF Manor.
That's right. Zach Wilson is not a rookie, but he will be there.
He's going to be the NFL crossover.
Did you by any chance see the top 25 rookies?
I have not.
Through the 3 quarters? Okay.
I haven't either.
The first one is, it's the same one that's leading the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, and Sauce Gardner is number 1.
Makes sense.
Garrett Wilson's number 2. Pretty good for the Jets. Number 4 and number 10 picks in the draft. Seems like they got it right when they're number 1 and number 2 rookies in the entire draft. This isn't just first rounders. It's all the entire draft.
Good stuff.
Chris Olave, number 3. Tariq Woolen, cornerback for the Seahawks, number 4. 5th round pick.
Yeah.
By the way. Aiden Hutchinson, number 5. Damian Pierce, number 6.
Fair.
4th rounder. Won't be playing this weekend. Now known as Ken Walker, number 7. 2nd rounder.
Good draft for Seattle. You haven't even mentioned their tackles, right?
Yeah. Ikem Ekwonu. He is ranked 8th. He's the tackle for the Carolina Panthers, number 6 overall. Christian Watson, number 9, to the Packers, 2nd round pick. Number 10, George Pickens, 2nd rounder. And then Devin Lloyd, Jalen Petrie, safety, Drake London, Travon Walker, Jack Jones, Tyler Linderbaum, the center that Baltimore took. And then number 17 is a Chiefs player. Want to throw a dart? Then we'll get Matt Derrick's prediction, and then we'll go to break.
Daniel Jeremiah knows what he's doing, so he's not going to just pick a guy that did a thing.
No, I would assume it's McDuffie.
I'm going to say Karlaftis, since McDuffie missed a lot of time, but I don't really know how he's doing it.
Karlaftis.
Well, there you go.
He writes, Karlaftis is getting better every week. He's flashed polish with his hand moves, and the effort is excellent. Now, that may be boy, what's he seeing in Karlaftis? It may also be, are we really studying and watching every other rookie across the NFL? So it is compared to the other rookies in the class, not just Karlaftis, compared to every other defensive end in the NFL. Kayvon Thibodeau, Kader Kohu, the undrafted cornerback that plays for the Miami Dolphins, Kyle Hamilton, Quay Walker, Malcolm Rodriguez, Deron Bland, James Houston, and then Jamari Sallier, who stepped in for Rashawn Slater at left tackle for the Chargers. What do you think happens this weekend, Matt Derrick, with the Texans?
I mean, you got 2 teams certainly going in different directions. The Chiefs, this should be a game in which they're honestly on autopilot. They don't need their A performance to beat the Houston Texans. I'm not even sure they need their B game. Their C game should be good enough. And I think the Houston Texans emptied it all out last week against the Cowboys. I think that game meant a lot more to them than the Chiefs game does. They've shown a lot now. I don't think anything that they do offensively is going to surprise the Chiefs. They don't have their best offensive player in their rusher. I mean, I still don't think this is going to be an entertaining game to watch. I wouldn't bet it, but I'm going with the Chiefs 31-21.
31-21, but the Texans to cover.
Until the Chiefs defense shows me something.
If the over hits, I think it's the Texans getting there. The Texans are going to get the over. The Texans scoring is what's going to push it to the over. Because the Chiefs, I think, are going to get in the 30s. The over is what, 49.5? So if it's 31-10?
Chiefs game 49.5, I'd probably hammer that.
I did under. Really?
So no,
'Cause I don't believe in the Texans at all.
I don't know if you've been following, but the only one of the three of us here on the Zone who's had a good bet in the last 6 months has been Beards.
Yep.
Well, that means I've had the best because I haven't. Well, have I bet the last 6 months? Yeah, I have. So.
I've
but
been
I'm up, so yay.
And see, I've got the exact opposite of you. I've got the Chiefs to cover and the under. You've got the Texans to cover and the over. I feel good about your prediction.
Jerry Jeudy, $36,000, $281 at the end of that. Tom Pelissero, that's 2 fines for him.
Wow, there's a lot of fines and different numbers. Kendall Gammon next.
Join me, Seren Petro, and Sports Radio 810 WHB as we brought...
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Just right on the verge of nailing it.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Beards. Now, very pleased to be joined as we are on Fridays at noon with our man Kendall Gammon. He is presented by Freeman Health System. Centered around you, Freeman Health System, your local hospital joining your circle of trust. And Crown Automotive in Lawrence, your Lawrence new and certified pre-owned Toyota and Volkswagen dealership near Kansas City, Olathe, and Topeka. Experience the Crown difference at crownautomotive.com. Kendall, we are all out of straws in here, so there are no straws in the paper that will be shot your way. Don't worry.
If I'd known that, I wouldn't have been in.
The heck? You just thought it was like a competition.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you've been in here, you've juggled before. Now we're taking the straw wrappers and trying to shoot them at different people. Not the spit wads, but just the actual straw wrappers. And that's not going to be the case over the next 20 minutes, so I apologize.
This is a hard-hitting show, clearly.
Yes, we will hit you with straw wrappers if you give us a chance.
We get really to the bottom of everything,
Absolutely.
really. Yeah, we solve the world's and the local team's problems. That's what we do while spitting straw wrappers everywhere. So and juggling sometimes.
All of that. You got to have a hobby.
Got to.
That's exactly right.
That's
it. Kendall Gammon is our guest. Can you grab... Beards, can you grab the Mike Leach clip?
Yeah.
You may have heard this already, probably 20 times. I don't know.
I have.
But because you're in here, I want to play it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to play it again. Can you play the Mike Leach talking about mascots? And there should be other different types of
mascot one?
Not the Pac-12
Not the Pac-12
Okay.
one. That's right. Not the Pac-12 one. So can you grab that to play as we hang out with Kendall Gammon here? We had a lot of Mike Leach clips that we played on Monday, or was it Tuesday? Tuesday. It was Tuesday. He
yeah.
passed away Monday night. On Tuesday. And this was one that was great because he's talking about there should be different types of mascots out there than just the regular ones. And, of course, he had a lot of love for a local mascot.
Well, first of all, there should be more sharks if you're by an ocean. That tiger at LSU that's a live, real tiger sitting in there in some metal structure, which clearly he could rip his way out of if he wanted to, even half wanted to. That's an awesome one. The buffalo at Colorado, that's an awesome one. Well, those two are pretty hard to beat. Okay, but the best is, so there's a place in Kansas called Pitt State. And I used to see it on film. We didn't play them. Called Pitt State, and they're the gorillas. And there should be a lot more gorillas for mascots. Because think about it, a gorilla can whip a lot of stuff, you know. So they're the Pitt State gorillas. And you'd see this on film because we would be playing somebody that they'd played. And when Dennis Franchione was there, he really had it going on because Dennis Franchione was kind of a hero of all the small college coaches because as he climbed and went to Division I, you know, gave us all hope. So the Pitt State Gorillas, and that's what they were, the Pitt State Gorillas. So then the students and everybody, when it came time for the opponent to come out, they'd play Welcome to the Jungle, just blaring, Welcome to the Jungle. Then the visiting team would come through the tunnel. They'd all be hurling bananas at the visiting team. You'd see bananas everywhere, bananas bouncing off helmets, bananas just flying through the air. And that was Welcome to Pitt State because you're about to play the Gorillas. How about that?
How about that?
I don't know how many bananas were flying, but I know some have in the past.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't like
absolutely.
a whole student section. Everybody had a banana and just fired them at the opposing team when they ran out there.
I mean, there were certainly bananas thrown, so he just may have been embellished a little, but man, does he tell a good story, number one. And then number two, lots of times, you know, you would have the stick, and instead of the tomahawk, you would have the banana on it, and that was in the stands also, yeah, so remember that. But, you know, just an amazing guy. You know, you bring him up. It's amazing that I've never seen somebody like this elicit this much emotion for. I mean, I know he's in the SEC and doing everything, but all the same, just hadn't won a national championship, but just seemed to leave a mark on everybody. It's interesting. I had a coach, and he told me about when Leach was at a coaching convention once, and he went to the conventions, but he didn't go to the meetings. He just went to have some drinks and enjoy. And he said one time he was just talking to him, and he'd had a few too many, and he's just like, I don't know why I'm not getting hired or whatever. And he's just like, dude, you're at the bar and you're drinking. Of course. Now, he did clean that up, and he was talking about it and laughing about it. Then he laughed about the fact that when was it Tech that he was at, right?
Yep.
Sometimes he might be a little bit late to practice, and he would come on up. He'd be in inline skates. He would have skated to practice and come in there and take them off and go. I mean, just all crazy stories.
Yeah, and his stories are great, and he had an opinion about everything. And that one always stuck with me because, being a Northwest guy. But
yeah, absolutely.
The Bearcats not eliciting a lot of fear into opponent. Not, of course, I think a gorilla would win against a Bearcat. Off the mascots, not on the field, of course. I mean, that hasn't happened in a long time. Not this year, certainly. But I do. There should be more sharks. If you live by an ocean, there should be more sharks as mascots. And but yeah, getting into Pitt State and the other sort of thing that came up in that, and I didn't know. I haven't asked you this before, so I don't. Did you cross paths with Francione? Did he recruit? Were you just Chuck Boyles?
Yeah, no. He recruited me, and I played for him for 3 years.
Oh, well, then I'm way off in my time. For whatever reason, I thought you were more. Your time was Chuck Broyles, so
it was 2 years with Chuck.
2 years with Chuck. Okay,
yep, absolutely.
I forgot you spent 5 years in college. My bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Easy.
Yeah. No, I didn't know if you had crossed paths or not. But just hearing that when he's like, Dennis Francione, who was important to all of us because he's a guy at the Division II that made it at Division I. So showing that it can be done from Pitt State.
Well, and Coach Franz, who I heard those stories from, and I went down and visited him a few years back. Maybe 3 years ago, and he just talked about it, and he just chuckled as he talked about him because just you can't help but like the guy.
Yeah,
he's going to sit there and talk about it, and he's going to teach you something.
Yeah, no, it's great. And Stan Weber was telling a story this morning that whenever he was at Tech, every year, because Stan and Danny have done the college game day on 810 for 20-something years. And so when he was at Texas Tech and they would play Kansas State, they would have the opposing coach on. And he said, they would always tape it because they didn't do it the day of. So, and Lebo would be taping some of those and producing that. Shocker, I know, that's weird. No, it's all live. Sorry, the whole thing is live. I apologize. Stan Weber hosts that show live, and then an hour later is doing play-by-play for K-State. That I promise you, that's exactly what happens. But he was telling the story that when Todd's producing and they're getting ready to record and everything, and he's like, let's sit there and talk with Mike for 20 minutes before we started the recording. And he's like, don't you have something to do? And he's like, but he was such a competitor. Like Mike Leach was talking with Stan Weber, but was talking to Stan Weber about what Bill Snyder was going to do. It's like, so I mean, hey Mike, Stan, what's Bill doing with this? What are you guys doing over there with that? And so it's like they would talk for like 20 minutes, and then it's like, okay, we're going to start the recording. You ready to do the interview now, Mike? Yeah, let's do it. And that seems to be like what everybody had to say about it.
Well, and just the way he delivered it. I mean, just such deadpan side of it and everything, and just completely in the process of everything going on too, engulfed in the situation and the moment.
Yeah, how can you have an opinion about so many different things and actually come off as it's a pretty educated opinion about so many different random things?
Yeah, exactly.
So visiting with Kendall Gammon. Speaking of the opposite of that, let's us over here talk football that have never played. So educated opinion from Mike Leach on a lot of different things. Me just throwing darts. Just let me throw a dart here or there and see what happens. But
who has the radio show, him or you?
He also had a radio show. So that's he won that one
for
too.
like a year between Tech and Washington
college
State
jobs. So he wins again.
Yeah, dang it. Shoot. Oh, who had the radio show with Braden Gall? Oh, his radio show was with Braden Gall. Dang it. Son of a gun. What do you take away from that Broncos game before we, turn the page specifically on that game and then look at some other things? But what do you take away from that? 27-0, and then, they fall, 28-7 the rest of the way, but still win.
Yeah, tale of two cities. I mean, give them credit for getting up 27-0, and I think it's human nature to get a little lax and start to maybe take some more chances in what you're doing. I think the interceptions, it's alarming, but it's not alarming. It's alarming in the fact that these weren't tip balls. They were actual interceptions where he got fooled a little bit. But two of them for sure, in my opinion, two of them were just fantastic plays. And it is a good Denver defense. The one thing I take out of it is you love the fact that you're in the playoff stretch, the playoff run, and you got a game that got your attention without losing it. So you can go and correct some things, and you've got a rallying cry without having lost that game. Most of the times the rallying cries and everything come after you lost a game. You're like, we got to do this better. This game, they got out with the dub, and they can still talk about some things and how they need to focus on a different level maybe.
On Wednesday, Justin Reid was talking, and he said that they let up, get up 27-0, and let up, and they got to be better about that.
Right.
And then yesterday, Eric Bieniemy was asked about the second half and what happens in that game, and he said that the mentality was the same the first half and second half when they only scored one touchdown in the second half. He said the mentality was the same, but we got to keep the players focused and locked in every play, and we got to be better and have to learn how to play every play. So that's back-to-back days that somebody has talked about, like the focus wasn't there. I don't find concern with that at all because I feel like that's just human nature, that they're up 27-0, and then you kind of be like, all right, this team, we were watching film this week, and we didn't think they were all that good anyway, but we took them seriously, and we came out, we're 27-0. Okay, we kind of got this game already.
Well, and the other thing, too, is they scored, what was it,
34.
Yeah, 34, sorry. 34 points with 3 turnovers.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at it so many different ways. And in the defense, I know they gave up 28 points and to a Denver, offense that hadn't scored a touchdown since Alexander the Great. I know, so it had been a bit. But they were put in bad situations, and they did a nice job. Not a great job in their estimation, but they did come away with 6 sacks. They did do some good things. Although, if you take that one game away, then no, I'm just.
You don't like when I do that.
I listen to this show because of that.
If you just take this one thing away and that one thing away, get some other things here.
There's plenty of good you can come out of that game with, I think, and there's plenty of. I'm not say concern, but I say things that again helps the team refocus as they get this final playoff drive going.
Is this a weird game to be the one that follows that up, though? Because I look at this team and I feel like there's a little bit of like a from us, not from inside the Chiefs building, but from us, there's a little like preseason game vibe to it. This is the Texans, they're 1-11-1, but I know that you can't treat it like a preseason game because if you lose this preseason game, you've taken a regular season loss. I know the Chiefs all know that, but what is it like preparing for a team that's this good at being the Chiefs, preparing for a team that is bringing very little to this NFL season so far?
I think the rallying cry becomes, you go back to that week of thinking, okay, we should have a chance to do the same thing to this team, but we've got to finish the job. And the other thing is, you talk about that, but it's one of the next 4 where you've got to win these and hope that Buffalo trips up a little bit. So I think that's what you're looking at. I don't think it's too difficult. These are two franchises that are in just completely opposite directions. I mean, from all the way up, all the way down, and the talent disparity, in my opinion, is just, it's significant. And generally, there's a little bit of disparity, or it's close on the playoff teams, but this one is, it's really night and day.
Yeah, and it was really impressive that they were even able to not only stay in the game against the Cowboys, but they're down inside the 5-yard line to win it, and the game would be over at that point. Instead, they end up losing, but they were inches. It's a game of inches. They were inches away from beating the Cowboys and pulling off one of probably the biggest upsets of the season. Not even probably. That would be the biggest upset of the season if they were to beat the Cowboys. They didn't. And now I wonder, can they come back and try to do it again?
I agree. It could be a just complete debacle for them. You see teams like that when they almost get there and they're like, well, we lost again. And, you're getting the keys out and getting the bus warmed up and thinking about what you're doing in the offseason. And it's going to be interesting. I feel like the Chiefs, I think Patrick himself, a little bit sour about everything that went on and kind of wants to make a statement, and it should be fun. I quite honestly, though, I hope they play well, and I hope Henny's in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I hope that Henny's in the fourth quarter, and there's some padding of stats throughout the. We were talking about earlier this week, like what is it that we even want to see in the Houston game besides the first thing, no injuries that we always say and then get out of the way, and it's like what's the intrigue in this game? And one of the texters was like padding stats, pat stats, which certainly could be a part of it. The offense, though, I want to bring up because you had mentioned, hey, they scored 34 points against Denver. 27 offensive points. They got a pick 6 as well against Denver. But still, they got the 27 points, and it's the most points scored this year against the Broncos. Watching last night's game, San Francisco against Seattle, in Seattle. San Francisco wraps up their division last night. The Seahawks score 13 points in that game against the 49ers. And so there are some things that the Chiefs have to get better at.
Mm-hmm.
And turnovers have been an issue for this team offensively 7 straight weeks. But that San Francisco game, watching the fact that they have won every game since, maybe it was just a bad game for San Francisco, or maybe that's the way the Chiefs could play and how good they can be when they've got it rolling offensively. They didn't even really technically have it all that, it wasn't a perfect game. They had 9 possessions before, running out the clock at the end of the game, taking some knees. So at the end of the game, so they had 9 possessions. In those 9 possessions, they scored touchdowns on 6 of them, but they also had an interception, a missed field goal, a muffed punt.
Right.
They turned the ball over twice and missed a field goal in a game where they put 44 on the 49ers.
A team that's already wrapped up their division with the 3rd QB.
Yeah, and is viewed as how good is San Francisco's defense.
Right.
Good luck to, and Seattle scored 13, and they've been putting some points on the board. It was a while ago that we don't still, like if that San Francisco game happened 2 weeks ago,
right,
and they beat them, what was the final, 44 to, what did they, 23? 44. They beat the 49ers 44-23 2 weeks ago. I feel like there's a completely different feel to what this Chiefs team is. The question is, are they just not clicking right now?
Right.
And it seems like something isn't happening for them, whereas in that game and the Bucs game, it was like, wow, they are just putting the clown suit on the 49ers defense from what they're doing offensively, and even having 3 possessions where they didn't score and lost a possession on a muff punt.
Well, I mean, I know it's a cliche, but oftentimes you play up or down to your competition. It seems like when they have that competition, they get it going, and Andy Reid schemes up some more things. So this for that reason, this week will be a pretty good test. But you're exactly right about that of what they've done. And I mean, let's be honest. We're spoiled with this offense and everything going on. I mean, and not just Patrick, but I mean, you're watching the best tight end ever play this game, in my opinion. I think there's some other good things happening. I think the offensive line is as healthy as it's been in a while, and they're doing a nice job. I like that Pacheco's had over 60 or 70 yards in the last 4 or 5 games. I'm not exactly on that, but they don't have to rush for 100, but the threat has to be there. And then I think McKinnon is another wild card with this. And I know I probably went on a tangent and went off on things, but it's just kind of my flow of thought of what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing. And I just think, I don't know. If we're healthy and everybody's going, and I think you're getting Tony and McCole back at some point in time, that changes the whole offensive side of things as well, even if they don't get the ball on the jet sweeps and things of that nature. So there's just so much going on. I think this will be a good barometer this week to see how focused they are, which probably sounds weird going against a 1-11 team, but if you can focus when you know you should win and get things going on, they're going to be up for the big games, and there's not a ton actually until we get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
On Pacheco, I went and looked because you said a number that I think was even one less than it turned out to be. It's a really impressive stretch. Against the Titans, he had 5 carries for 5 yards.
Sucks.
Since that game, Pacheco's had 82, 107, 69, 66, and 70 yards rushing. Most of those they got 13, 14, 15, 16 carry games, and then 22 in the game against the Rams. But it ought to be 6 games in a row if they do feed him against Houston, where he hits at least 65 rushing yards. That's a heck of a run.
It really is, and that's a good number. You'd love to get to 100, but the fact is also, if you're throwing the ball to McKinnon out of the backfield, those are glorified runs, and it acts the same, and he's doing a nice job. For him to get, I think, 6 or 7 receptions for 120-something, I think 19 touches on the day or whatever it was, somewhere around there. That's good. And those 2 backs, Pacheco and McKinnon, are such a change of pace of what's back there. So I think it's very interesting to see how they continue with that. And I think that side of things is happening at the right time. I love Pacheco. I think he runs angry. He's running downhill. A lot of 4-6-8 reads, which is to say when he's going there, he looks at the 4 hole. If it's there, he takes it right up the field. If not, he stretches out to the 6 hole. If it's not there, then he stretches it to the outside. And when he goes hard. And he's, as they said, he's an energy giver.
The Chiefs as a team have broken 100 every week since the bye.
Okay.
Actually, since the Texans game, except against the Broncos. But as you said, in that game, Jerick McKinnon had 500 yards receiving and screens out of the backfield and everything. So.
You said Texans, you meant Titans.
I meant Titans. Thank you.
Yep. Just
haven't played the Texans yet in America.
That'd be crazy if since the Texans game.
Different AFC.
I do want to put into perspective what we were talking about Pacheco, because it's like, 70 yards, 69. That's pretty good. You know what that comes out to if you take those 5 games over the course of a season? What that would be for Pacheco yards?
A big chunk of change.
1,340 yards.
About 12. Wow. Okay, cool.
And 7 touchdowns. If it's a 17-game season, what he's done for 5 weeks since he's been the guy, you're the running back, Pacheco, it would be over 1,300 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns.
If you at the beginning of the year, if you say this is what we're going to get, you'd be like, yeah, we'll take that.
And it would be, by the way, it would come to, boy, this is amazing. This is I want to write these down because this is.
And I was afraid you were going to, when you said those 5 games, I was afraid you were going to take those 5 games out and then tell us what it would have been.
You know, when Pacheco wasn't playing, he was not as impressive.
I am not saying they are the same player, okay?
Right.
You be careful, Jason.
Pacheco over 17 games. Now, it's 17 versus 16.
Be careful.
Yes.
17 versus 16.
Asterisk.
Over the full season, Pacheco would be pacing for 272 carries, 1,340 yards, and 7 touchdowns. There's a player for the Chiefs that had 272 carries, 1,327 yards, and 8 touchdowns.
I tweeted out asking who is Isaiah Pacheco the best running back since, and the best response I got was Kareem Hunt.
It's Kareem Hunt's rookie year. 272 carries, 1,327 yards, and 8 touchdowns. What Pacheco has done the last 5 games is essentially what Kareem Hunt did for 16 games for the Chiefs.
Just rushing, right?
Just rushing. Yeah. Kareem added 455 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Lord.
Pacheco would add 200 yards receiving over the course of a year, but no touchdowns. So it would be 250 less yards and 3 fewer touchdowns over the course of a year for Pacheco to Kareem Hunt. But also, Pacheco's been splitting with McKinnon and even Edwards-Helaire, where it was Kareem Hunt. Like he was the guy, and it was also Alex Smith and not Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
So it's really interesting to see, because I hadn't even put it into that perspective. Quite frankly, I didn't even realize those numbers until Kendall had just said it, and then you looked it up, and I'm like, well, what would that be over the course of 17? It would be almost identical to Kareem Hunt's rookie year.
Well, and it's bad. I don't even put Pacheco and Kareem Hunt in the same category.
Yeah, I don't
will
either.
now. You changed my thinking, but
I would have never done that.
Yeah, I think the point you make of splitting carries though with McKinnon as opposed to Kareem, he was the main guy. That's significant as well.
And he also had 53 receptions that year. But it was also, again, Alex Smith and not Patrick Mahomes. You had Alex Smith that was way more willing to drop it off to the running back.
Right.
But also Kareem Hunt's pretty darn good. I don't know what Pacheco's going to look like throughout his career, but I know in these 5 games, there's an element to the Chiefs' offense, it seems, that has been added with him being the guy that's carrying it. And that last carry of the game against the Broncos has gotten a lot of run nationally. Yeah, as it should.
As it should, absolutely. And 5 games is a decent sample size. Obviously, it's not a whole. It's not a whole season, but it is a decent sample size. There's no reason to expect that he wouldn't continue to do that, especially with the schedule as it continues for the rest of the year. And then it's going to be what happens when you're in the playoffs and you're going against a good team, a better team.
Yeah, because you would expect that he's only going to get better as he gets more patient or, ability to read the offensive lineman a little bit better, or as the season progresses. Because he's clearly, right now, he's better than what he was at the beginning of the year, because it took a little while for me to be on board with Isaiah Pacheco, because I wasn't out there at camp watching, so I was taking other people's observations and little videos, snippets, and then watching in preseason games, and I'm like, he's fine. I'm not really seeing what everybody's talking about. And even earlier in the season, I'm like, he's fine. I'm not really seeing what everybody's talking about. Like kickoff returns, he's not good. So I'm like, I'm not really seeing it. And then I don't remember what game it was that it was like that I came in on Monday and I'm like, okay,
He just hadn't finished charging yet. He's got.
Yeah,
he was
it's
just
yeah.
loading.
It's like, okay, I see what you guys are talking about. I saw a glimpse. I saw a flash of that, and he's gotten better and better. And now, absolutely, you see what the Chiefs were telling different people that would come into camp, like, hey, this Pacheco fella is pretty good.
I think it's interesting to go backwards a little bit, though, when you started talking about it. The one big thing is the turnover ratio. I mean, you're -5 right now.
Yeah.
You can't do these things in the playoffs and get away with it.
That's what's so.
In my I say that, but I forget. Did they turn the ball over much against San Francisco?
They had two turnovers.
The two.
They had two turnovers. They had an interception and a muff punt.
So I just proved myself wrong.
Jason's got a whiteboard here with the red strings and everything from all the turnover numbers. It was interesting.
I don't know where it's at.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but I think the takeaway from all of this basically was you can't give the ball away. The number of takeovers you receive, you can find basically teams that break even and still win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But you're not going to find a whole lot of -4 in the playoffs.
Yeah, and you're not finding a lot of -4. But you're also not finding a lot of 4 or more turnovers in the course of the entire postseason run by teams that win their conference.
Right.
So when I looked at the last 10 years, so that's 10 teams that have last 5 years, 10 teams have won their conference in the last 5 years. 9 out of the 10 have had a plus or even turnover differential.
Right.
To get to the Super Bowl. The only one that did not was 2017 New England was -1. In the 2 games that they had played.
Yep.
When you throw in the Super Bowl as well, 7 of the 10 had a plus or even turnover differential when you add in the Super Bowl. The 3 that did not have a plus or even, New England, 2017, Chiefs in 2020, because while they were +1 going into the Super Bowl, they were -2 in the Super Bowl, so they ended up for the postseason run -1.
Gotcha.
And then the Rams last year were -2. Including -2 in the Super Bowl against the Bengals, in which they won.
Yeah.
The one that stands out, that is the huge, shiny, flashing red, this is the, maybe the anomaly and not sort of what would be the rule. Last year's Bengals team was +7 in their postseason run. They turned the ball over twice.
Wow.
Their defense was +9, or had 9 turnovers. Their defense took the ball away 9 times in 4 games, and the offense wasn't giving it away.
Yeah, that's significant.
And they won games by 5, by 3, by 3, and then they had the ball at the end with an opportunity to go and win against the Rams in the Super Bowl. Like, you're playing on thin ice. You're playing closer games, and in the postseason, the bounce of the ball here or there. But if your defense is taking it away 9 times and your offense is not giving it away, well, you're putting yourself in a pretty good position to beat teams that may be better than you.
Yep.
But you found a way to do it. But that's the one that really stands out. Is +7 is significant compared to the others that are +3, +2, +1, even, minus. Like, the +7 is really a red flashing light, and it also shows how you can have a quarterback that has 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and you would win 3 games in the postseason.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, Mahomes can't do that. The Chiefs aren't winning 3 games in the postseason if Mahomes has 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
I would concur.
Totally. If he has a postseason with 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, I would say they lost the second game. They won the first one with 3 touchdowns.
You can get by the first one.
They won the first one with 3 touchdowns, and then the second one, it was probably 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and ended up losing. Because this Chiefs defense is not going to give you 9 takeaways in 4 games.
Well, you wouldn't think so for what's going on.
At least from what we've
it would
seen.
have to change. I mean, you can get hot, and all of a sudden, they always talk about they come in bunches. That's maybe just talk, but you hope they start playing well at the right time, and it does happen a lot. I think you go back a long time. I remember the Steelers were a 6th seed one time, the last time they won the Super Bowl, and I think they just started playing well at the right time. Doesn't happen very often, but it does sometimes.
Last one real quick for you, and then I'll get your prediction on the Texans game. The elements in a game, because there's a lot of talk about tomorrow night in Buffalo, that it's going to be, during the game is expected to be somewhere around 2 to 3 inches of snow falling, a feels like temperature of 10 degrees, and wind gusts of 30 miles an hour. So I joked that it might be a literal snow globe out there. Just watching it on TV, you might see a football game in a snow globe. How much do the elements play in a game? And does it matter if Miami's a warm weather team? even though they're all humans out there playing, how much do the elements maybe factor in for one team over another in a game like this?
I think it's huge. I mean, you can't simulate practicing that week in Miami of how it's going to be there. I played in a -10 game. It was a Sunday night football in against the Patriots. It's cold. I mean, there's cold, and then there's that type of cold. And I mean, more now than ever, the equipment that the players have to keep themselves warm is great. But we had decent stuff. When it gets to a certain point, it's rough. I mean, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge difference maker for somebody like Miami coming up to play.
Yeah, and you got a Miami team that likes to throw the ball, and if there's wind gusts of 30 miles an hour,
absolutely, yep,
they better be on their running game. And we'll see what happens. A lot of Miami fans tomorrow night in Kansas City. Most everybody going to be a Miami fan tomorrow night in Kansas City, unless you're specifically a Buffalo fan. But hopefully the elements work in Miami's favor. We'll see what happens. Do you have a score in mind for the Chiefs and Texans on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm around like 27-14, and I think maybe it's a late TD to make it 14 for them. I feel like the Chiefs would have a chance to score more, but I just feel like they're going to get up and they're going to be able to rest some people and put them away. When I say put them away, put them on the sideline in the fourth quarter. Maybe that's what I'm hoping also, but that's what I'm going with. It could be it could be worse. I mean, there's a possibility they could just be ugly also, because I've been on teams like that, unfortunately, when I was with the Saints in my character building years, and it sucks. I mean, you are playing for your job. You're playing hard, but again, human nature is, man, this is bad.
We'll see what ends up happening. Kendall Gammon, presented by Freeman Health System and Crown Automotive in Lawrence. Freeman Health System, centered around you. Freeman Health System, your local hospital, joining your circle of trust. And Crown Automotive in Lawrence, your Lawrence new and certified pre-owned Toyota and Volkswagen dealership near Kansas City, Olathe, and Topeka. Experience the Crown difference at crownautomotive.com. Kendall, you're the man as always, brother. Good to see you.
Appreciate you having me in, guys.
Absolutely. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, and we will exchange Kendall Gammon for Mick Shaffer.
Ugh. You know what? I'm going to barricade the door. Kendall, just stick around.
Please. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I just play a braggadocio badass on the radio. In real life, I am very humble.
If I ever host a career day.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Thank you to Kendall Gammon joining us, talking some Chiefs football, some NFL football. If you're wondering and curious and just trying to find the score and you can't find it anywhere, I'll let you know that in the Hometown Lenders Bahamas Bowl, UAB is up 10-6 in the third quarter with 7 minutes to play. They jumped out to a quick 10-0 lead, but since then the offense has been stymied, and Miami scored a touchdown, and I don't know if they missed the 2-point conversion or if they missed the extra point. I'm not sure, but they have 6. Or maybe they've scored 2 field goals. I'm not sure.
If they don't convert fourth and 7 here, I got to sell my house.
Oh! 4th and 7.
Yeah,
He dropped it. He dropped it. 4th and 7. What an idiot. Why would you go for it on 4th and 7? You're up 4 in the third quarter, 7 minutes to play. That's the problem. Analytics, you know what analytics
Ruining
never
the
done?
game.
What does the card say there on the Hometown Lenders Bahamas Bowl at 4th and 7 in the third quarter?
You know what a spreadsheet's never done? Played it down a football.
Never caught a pass.
Yeah.
Oh man, he caught it twice and still dropped it.
Well, he caught it, but he was bobbling it, and he was already turning and looking upfield while he's bobbling. You're already past the first down marker.
Hold on to the football, man.
I don't think this UAB guy is going to make it in the NFL as a tight end. I don't think you can do that.
If he doesn't get drafted, I need to find the second house that I can sell.
You've been selling houses on UAB winning this one, right?
Well, so actually I've got enough bets out now that really no matter what happens, I'm screwed. So
you just have been hedging on your hedges
Yeah.
Well, no matter what happens, I'm gonna win about 30 cents.
Much like the classic DreamWorks movie, I have overhedged.
Is this the first bowl of the bowl season?
It is. Started at 10:40.
6 and
today.
6ers right there.
You're darn right. This line was UAB minus 10.5. UAB minus 10.5. And then the second bowl comes up today at 2:00. And that is a top 25 matchup.
Is that in a different country or different territory? Maybe we get one in Puerto Rico or
that is the
Canada.
That is the Cure Bowl,
Alaska,
and it is number 25.
You just named a territory, a country, and then a state.
I was trying to
Good
mix
for
it
you.
up. I was trying to pick a different
Appreciate
thing
that.
each time, and I honestly was concerned that maybe I had failed to do that.
Number 25 UTSA taking on number 24 Troy.
Guam.
Is that the District of Columbia? Maybe could that be played in the
Cure Bowl.
Commonwealth?
Virgin Islands, maybe?
Not sure where
What'd you say, Beard?
Louisiana Purchase Bowl?
Ooh, the Louisiana Purchase Bowl would be great.
Not sure where the Cure Bowl is.
Aleutian Islands?
Not sure. Okay. UTSA is 3-point favorites in case you're looking to take out another mortgage.
Cure Bowl's in Orlando.
Oh, so close.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and
Well, you know what?
hammer the over.
You can go, and it's like a fantasy world there in Orlando. You can do a lot of different things.
How many bowls are in Orlando? Aren't both Cheez-It Bowls in Orlando?
Are there multiple Cheez-It
There
Bowls?
are 2 Cheez-It Bowls.
Is there the
It's too many.
Well,
Cheez-It-
how
Watch your
dare
mouth.
you?
Bite your tongue.
Are you saying Orlando?
Dare you?
Or are you talking about Cheez-Its there?
I'm talking about Cheez-Its.
So you're a Triscuit guy. I see.
Oh, I could find 30 worse sponsors for bowl games than Cheez-Its.
Cheez-Its a great one.
Great.
I also do respect Cheese Nips, but they don't have a bowl game. You heard me.
Yeah.
Cheese Nips.
Free the Cheese Nips.
I respect all nips.
It will be a bit nippy outside.
Cheez-It Bowl is in Orlando. I got to check on the other Cheez-It Bowl. I'm having a hard time Googling.
I remember
other
because
Cheez-It Bowl.
Brett McMurphy broke the news that there's 2 Cheez-It Bowls. I think he got that one right.
Yeah, it would have. Mizzou would have played in it, but they're afraid of gluten.
He said there were a couple of Cheez-It Bowls, but then he came back and said, no. I'm just saying there are bowls with Cheez-Its in it, just in general.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mean anything specific.
He said Pringles backed out.
Yeah.
Of the sponsorship.
Right.
Of that bowl.
I didn't say a specific bowl of Cheez-Its. I was just saying in general.
Has he responded to that? Is that
there
what
are
you're
bowls of Cheez-Its.
alluding to?
Yeah, apparently he said, well, I didn't say anything about the Liberty Bowl. I just said that they didn't want to play Kansas in any bowl. The only bowl they could have played Kansas in was the Liberty Bowl. I'll tell you what, I will not play the Chiefs in Kansas City anywhere. Well, I thought you were afraid to play them at Arrowhead. No. I wouldn't. They don't want to play the Chiefs anywhere in Kansas City, but they'd only play at Arrowhead. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Anywhere.
All right, following up on a breaking story.
Please.
So the Cheez-It Bowl is in Orlando. Sooners at Florida State Seminoles. I mean, the at is totally irrelevant there. I mean, it's in Florida, so I guess it's kind of a road game.
What if we went back to 1992?
So
and we told Florida State and Oklahoma and all of college football fans that those two franchise organizations in the sport of college football are going to be playing in something called the Cheez-It Bowl.
So the Cheez-It Bowl is going to be on December 29th, OU Florida State. And then there's the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, which is January 2nd, 2023. I don't know
Same stadium?
Which stadium that one is in yet, but I now know that there's the Cheez-It Bowl and then there's the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl.
Okay, so
no news on the launch of citrus-flavored Cheez-Its. I will be writing a strongly worded letter.
1992. You wanted to go back to 1992? Let's go back to 1992 bowl games. These are all the bowl games from 1992. Las Vegas Bowl, Aloha Bowl, Freedom Bowl, Copper Bowl, Holiday Bowl, the John Hancock Bowl,
Whoa,
the Gator Bowl, the Liberty Bowl, Independence Bowl.
There's still a lot of bowls back then.
Citrus Bowl.
That's 10.
Hall of Fame Bowl.
It's 11.
Cotton Bowl. Blockbuster Bowl.
Remember that one.
Wow.
And then Fiesta Rose, Sugar, Orange, Peach. So
18,
those five.
I think.
So 18 bowl games there.
LSU and Purdue will square off in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl on January 2nd.
Cool.
Cheesy.
Interesting. You know, our bowl season starts tomorrow at Sports Radio 810. I don't know if you knew that or not. BYU, SMU. Tomorrow,
Big 12.
6:30, ESPN Kansas City. Bowl season gets rolling. And then next Tuesday, and then on into Friday, Saturday.
We got so many freaking bowl games.
We got bowl games
between these two stations.
You
here.
want some bowl games? Okay. So say hello to the bowl guy. Last time you see a bowl guy like me.
Say hello to my little snacks.
Yeah. Another,
just a Cheez-It Bowl.
another Quilo and a cheese should love me in the morning. Ain't that right, Frank? All right, done with that.
Mine was worse, but his was bad.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Briscoe, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I have lots of amoebas and bacteria swimming up in me.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB on this Friday edition of The Zone. We'll hear from Andy Reid coming up in the 1 o'clock hour, and Chris Jones. So Andy Reid and Chris Jones will be at the podium. Chris Jones did not cross paths while he was at Mississippi State with Mike Leach. Mike Leach was at Washington State when Chris Jones was at Mississippi State. But
he got there in 20, I think.
But I'm assuming he's gotten to know Mike Leach by times going back to Mississippi State and things like that. So Chris Jones will be talking today as they get ready for the Houston Texans, and Andy Reid will let us know that it's a well-coached team. Looking forward to the challenge of playing the Houston Texans, but ultimately Andy Reid on Fridays is just what are the injury updates, because back-to-back days at practice, it has been a limited Kadarius Toney.
I think that's the only one because Najee Johnson was back full,
but he was back full
yesterday, and a lot of FPs on there,
and an LP for KT. And last week was a DNP, and the week before that was as well. And I'm wondering when
it's going to take a full week of FPs to get him back on.
I mean, maybe. I thought last week maybe they were holding him out because it was the Broncos and they felt like they could win that game.
And
I mean, again,
the Texans this week.
We talked about it on Wednesday, like, oh, hold him out until the Super Bowl. But I didn't know he was going to be at that point. He wasn't limited, right?
That was Wednesday.
Yeah, the Wednesday. So the practice report hadn't come out, the injury report. So now it's back-to-back days of injury reports coming out that he's limited in practice. And again, I'll go back to what I said then, and that is he left the game with tightness in his hamstring. It tightened up on him just a little bit. He didn't pull it, right? He wasn't as a hamstring pull. It was just, it's a little tight. Let's take him out precautionary. It's 3 weeks later.
Quick housekeeping note.
Yes.
Mecole Hardman is not on the active roster yet, so he does not have to be listed on the practice report.
Yep. His window did open up this week. Certainly sounded like when Andy talked on Wednesday that you're not going to see Mecole Hardman on Sunday. Maybe it'll be next week against the Seattle Seahawks.
The Texans are bad and injured, by the way.
That's right. Yes.
Then maybe that's one of the big reasons why they're bad, but they're getting worse. They're going from DNPs to hash marks.
They're so well coached, though, Mick. That's a good football team.
I mean, they're so well coached. They have 2 quarterbacks out there.
It's hard enough to coach one.
Chiefs are only going to play one.
Yeah. I thought Andy Reid was a good quarterback coach, and he can only do one at a time.
Quarterback singular.
It's a great point, man. It's a quarterback that's a league.
When you WHB Kansas City. And now on Sports Radio 810 Sports Center.
This Sports Center is brought to you by Pajamagram. Ignite passion this holiday season with Spark of Romance pajamas. Head to pajamagram.com today and order Spark of Romance pajamas, and they'll even wrap it up for you with free gift packaging. Kadarius Toney's been limited in practice for the Chiefs all week, but the rest of the active roster is a full participant on Thursday. McCole Hardman's 21-day practice window is open this week, but he remains on IR and does not require a practice designation. Meanwhile, Aaron Wilson tweeted this morning that Derek Stingley Jr., Steven Nelson, Nico Collins, and Damian Pierce were not practicing during the Texans' open portion of practice today. Coming up next in the zone, we continue to hang out with Mick Shaffer of KSHB 41, and we'll hear Andy Reid live from Arrowhead for one more preview of Chiefs versus Texans. You're listening to Sports Radio 810 WHB. This is Sports Center.
All right, let's send it out to Arrowhead. Here is Andy Reid.
Good week of practice. Look forward to that challenge of going down there and playing them. They're well coached and they've got good players. That time you're.
Coach, Patrick showed up on the injury report with a right hand injury. How did he look this past week in practice, and any concerns about him for Sunday?
Yeah, no, there's no concern. Yeah, he's doing good. He threw all week.
Andy, how did McCole do this week, and your thoughts about maybe him being activated in times of
Yeah, I'll check with Rick and just see where we're at. I'm going to tell you with him, though, I'm leaning away from him playing this week. But he did have a good week of practice. So.
Just to confirm with Patrick, wasn't a sprain or anything, just a little tender?
Yeah, thumb. Yeah.
Anything else? All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right, your traditional Fast Friday for Andy Reid. We're told that Chris Jones is sick.
It's getting faster by the minute.
Missed practice with an illness.
Missed practice with an illness. We will hear from Chris Jones coming up soon. No, we will not.
Ooh, I bet we don't.
I bet we will do not.
I bet that will not follow through. Leaning away from McCole Hardman, but that seems, honestly, is McCole Hardman going to play before Kadarius Toney does?
Well, you know what?
Great question.
I was in the previous segment. That really did pop into my mind when we were talking about Kadarius Toney and tightened up, and he's been limited. I'm like, you know, McCole, he's not going to play this week, maybe next week. I'm like, well, what if Kadarius Toney? Who plays first? I'm going to say Toney because he's.
I'm going to say same game.
So next week?
Yeah.
Or 2 weeks from
Seahawks.
now? Who's after the Seahawks? I haven't looked that far ahead. I don't even know.
I believe it goes Raiders
It's
and Broncos.
the Broncos,
right?
Broncos, then
Broncos,
Raiders.
then Raiders.
Okay. So
They close the
Seahawks,
season
Broncos,
at the Raiders.
Seahawks, Broncos, Raiders. So Denver at home, they will unleash the McCole and Toney show. Okay.
Yeah.
For the first time.
Hopefully.
Oh, my goodness.
For the first time on the
it to
field.
his team this time against the Broncos.
For the first time on the field together for what could be a full game. Because Toney played 9 snaps against the Titans in the last game that McCole Hardman played in before he was injured. So they crossed paths for 9 plays.
They ought to, at least be in tip-top shape come playoff time when they've really gotten to work out all the kinks together as an offense.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
We're tongue-in-cheek about the McCole and Toney show, right? Because
I do really want to see what it would look like with those guys out there, and it's not Sky Moore being the motion man, which I don't really think brings much fear to defenses that, oh my gosh, if he gets the ball, he can turn the corner and go.
But Toney's has had basically zero production in his NFL career. And McCole's been a punchline here, right, for a while.
I think McCole's
what's changed there? I mean, I don't know.
What's changed, I think there's a greater respect for McCole Hardman and what he can do for the offense when there's no Tyreek and no McCole and no Kadarius Toney.
I mean,
and it's Justin
jet
Watson.
Sweep, hashtag jet sweep game.
Justin Watson, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and Sky Moore are the ones that are offering anything outside of Juju Smith-Schuster, where you're like, well, McCole at least offered this, and Kadarius Toney, we saw what he could do in that Jags game when he had those 2 or 3 plays.
I just feel like a lot of times when guys are missing, their worth grows. Like, oh, man, really?
I think McCole Hardman's worth has grown this year.
I do too. I think that's happened both with him on and off the field. Because you don't see them stretching defenses horizontally at all right now. Like the offense to me has felt very congested these last few weeks. Even when it's
when I see MVS dropping balls.
Right. Well, the MVS deep stuff would be great if those hooked up a little more often. But a lot of that motion stuff, again, when it's Sky Moore running that, it's just not as stressful for a defense. I think that does have some smaller impacts.
Here's what I would wonder is So those guys, if they're out there, I say if because I don't know if we'll ever see it, if they're out there on the field at the same time where they're both big parts of the game plan, when Tony is the motion man, McCole can still beat. Then McCole can be the stretch the field deep and not just Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Because then it can be somebody who's done that with Patrick a number of times and who's been pretty darn good in Kansas City at doing that, that when McColl's the motion man, well, somebody else is going to stretch and go deep, and that might be Marquez Valdez-Scantling. McCole can do other things while Tony turns into the motion man and gets those jet sweeps. And then Tony can be somebody that's, doing some different things in a route concept while McCole Hardman goes in motion. I just think the element it adds, not that you're adding in Tyreek Hill, but you're adding an element where the defense at least has to worry that if this guy comes in motion and gets the ball, Tony is slippery and McCole can turn the corner and go. Whereas Sky Moore, good player and can be slippery, but doesn't offer the threat of keep the ball out of that guy's hands, because the Chiefs are actually keeping the ball out of Sky Moore's hands too.
They are.
So that addition and then the way they're running the football all combined, what could the offense look like if that's going on?
I think they could be like the number one offense in the NFL.
Well, hopefully, maybe one day. If they could put it all together, do you think they could get there?
They could always be better. They could always be better.
I don't know.
And the Chiefs have told us how much they value that skill set for their offense because they've invested in it 3 times in the last 5 years or so now, right? With obviously with Hill. That was after trying Dexter McCluster and DeAnthony Thomas. I mean, this is a skill set that Andy Reid has not run an offense without his entire time in Kansas City. But he got the best possible version. He got the best version of it in Tyreek Hill. He became much more than that role, obviously. But then, even in this last year for McCole Hardman, his contract year, that's why they traded for Kadarius Toney, so they could have that type of speed and agility if he's on the field next season. So I think the Chiefs have shown us exactly how much they value that type of skill set.
And I do think McCole Hardman's been maybe underrated in this town because of the draft pick and then unknown with Tyreek Hill and because of the comparisons with DK Metcalf, who we know all of that story there. What I've said about McCole Hardman, and it's a total unknown, but I don't know if I wanted the Chiefs to take Paris Campbell from Ohio State when they took McCole Hardman. He went to the Colts. He has battled injuries his entire career. But if McCole Hardman is drafted by the Colts and the Chiefs take Paris Campbell, is McCole Hardman just a small percentage in Indianapolis what he is in Kansas City? In a way you utilize him, maximize his talents that Andy Reid and these guys can do, where at the end of this year, McCole Hardman is going to get $18, $19 million per year. What's Paris Campbell going to get on the open market? Not $18, $19 million. But if Campbell were in Kansas City and healthy, is he McCole Hardman? It's like, well, Paris Campbell's going to get $19 million per year. It's the whole, have they developed McCole Hardman? Maybe they've maximized what McCole Hardman is to the point that he becomes a viable free agent that could be like Christian Kirk, and somebody's going to go, we need that guy to stretch the field. We're going to give him this much money. I think he's been underrated just because he's not Tyreek Hill, and he's never going to be Tyreek Hill. And he was a second-round wide receiver, not a first-round wide receiver.
Yeah, and I would say I'm more curious to see both of them back and both of them together than I am more saying, oh, this is a need. This has to happen before the playoffs, and I'm just not there yet.
No, I think
I'm caught in the stare. The tractor beam of number 15 and number 87.
No, you're right. I think it's a difference
a little bit
of
number 9 too.
Yeah, I think it's a difference of they're still the number one offense even without those guys on the field. Intrigued as to you add that element into what has become a better running game, and you've already got the tractor beam of 15 and 87. What does that do for this offense? And does it make it that much more unstoppable to where you can overcome a defense that is allowing teams to score touchdowns at the worst clip in the NFL in the red zone, that they are bending and breaking, and they're not turning teams over? Is the offense then going to get that much better to where you can make up for those things? Does it have to be 2018 now to win the Super Bowl as opposed to 2019?
It's funny how, most of the time, sacks are drive enders, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get behind the chains that much, even if it's only 5 or 6 yards, that ends a drive. It seems like it just doesn't happen with the Chiefs. It's such a big play defense now. They need to be bigger play with turnovers. But with the sacks, they're over 40 now? 42 on the season, which is a great number.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just not getting the results. And I don't know if I could go back and think of the 6 sacks on Sunday. how many of those were drive-enders? Maybe 2 or 3. I don't know. But
I wouldn't be able to think off the top of my head
They
of what they
overcame
were.
them. The Bengals overcame the
one
one sack. the very next play.
They overcame the sack
on the play of the game.
Yeah, which, by the way, is one of the 3 sacks that Karlaftis has in the last 3 games. 3 straight games with a sack for George
Is that an
Karlaftis.
over-under thing that's going to hit or not hit? What do we have, 5 for him? No, what do we have?
We had 4.5. Do we want to do the updates in the over-unders right now?
I do want to do that. I was checking my notes from the Broncos game. I'm only 3 drives in, but the first 3 drives all had sacks for the Chiefs that were the last set of downs for the Broncos.
So 3 for 3.
So not all on third down, but like on that second defensive drive, Mike Dana gets a sack, puts him 9 yards behind the sticks on first down, and then they end up punting on 3rd and 16, turning into that scramble or whatever. So just in terms of like plays that the Broncos were able to recover from or not, those first 3 were all the defense is doing.
Also looking at it in the Broncos came out the first possession of the second half, scored a touchdown to make it 27-21. Did the Chiefs then score right after that? I'm trying to. No, they didn't.
I don't think they
They
did.
went 3 and out.
They went 3 and out.
I described it in my notes
They
as 3 and
scored
yikes.
at
Yes,
the
3 and
end of the
yikes.
third quarter, and you're like, okay, things have settled down, and then they hadn't settled down at that point.
Okay, settle down. Because I'm trying to go through real quick and look at the possessions the Denver Broncos had when it was within a score.
The Chiefs, I think that it was 3 at least. I think it's about 3.
So they
both times within 27-21 and then the 34-28.
So the first 2 possessions of the game for the Broncos, they had the ball within a score.
Oh, we're counting those?
Yeah.
Okay, then.
I'm just saying in the whole game because we know they gave up, 28 points, and that's been the issue is that they gave up 28 points. Within a score, those first 2 possessions gained a total of 3 first downs, and then there were 2 punts. After that, we got to go to the third quarter, in which the Chiefs punted after they were up 27-21. That was a 3 and out for -1 yards on that drive. Chiefs punted again. That was 1 first down that they gained, but they ended up losing 8 yards on the drive because while they gained a first down, they went backwards with sacks and a holding call and things like that. So they end up punting the ball there. So that makes 4 drives and a total of 4 first downs within a score. The Chiefs then go and score. Now they're up 2 possessions.
Did not go for 2.
Right? So they're up 13. They're up 2 possessions. Then the Broncos score on the Chiefs' defense when it's not within a score. Chiefs then punt the ball. Broncos go 3 and out.
Possessions?
Broncos go 3 and out. Chiefs turn the ball over. Broncos then throw an interception. So that makes 4, 5, 6 possessions the Broncos had in the game within a score, and they gained 4 first downs and turned the ball over once.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a different perspective to losing focus and then gaining focus.
It was
and
5
then
bad
losing
minutes.
Focus
That's
and
where we
then
ended up
gaining
yesterday,
focus, right? That within a score, when the game was like, oh my gosh, you should get a stop here because this game is within a score, they gave up 4 total first downs and got a turnover and an interception. When the game was multiple scores, yeah, the defense probably, play a little better. Get out of there and in the second half, you don't have to give up the 2 touchdowns in the second half. you don't have to give up the touchdown that was the longer drive in the fourth quarter.
The number of big plays that defense made that game.
Yeah.
Yet still the Broncos scored the most points they had all season. 6 sacks, 2 interceptions, one of them being a pick 6. You knocked the starting quarterback out of the game, which I don't care what people tell you. That's the goal of the defense every game. And yet still they score 28 points.
For 4.5 minutes of football, the Broncos scored 21 points. A minute and a half to go in the
and that, I mean, look, in that span, that is a lot of that on number 15 in the offense.
Well, yeah, a minute and a half to go. Came off an interception.
That score should have been 30 or 34 to nothing at halftime.
Yeah.
One of those 2.
It really could have been.
Because it was a 4-minute drill, I believe, when they got it back, right? 4:30 or something like that.
So the Broncos score with 1.5 minutes to go in the first half to make it 27-7. Then they score with 9 seconds to go in the first half to make it 27-14. Then they score with 13 minutes to go in the third quarter to make it 27-21. So 4.5 minutes of football, or excuse me, no, that's 3.5 minutes of football.
And if it
3.5 minutes of football,
if it
that they
is
scored
30 or
34
to nothing at halftime, Mahomes doesn't have those 2 interceptions. He could even have the one in the second half. He has locked up the MVP after that, because all you're talking about are those 2 wild touchdown plays that he makes. Instead, you have the 3 interceptions that kind of cancel those out a little bit, and Jalen Hurts hasn't thrown interceptions this year. And so now it's Hurts as the slight favorite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's not only Hurts as the slight favorite in Vegas and at the books, but what's really fascinating is how many people nationally are saying it's Patrick Mahomes is still the MVP.
Well, and it should be. And I don't know how much I believe in like MVP moments or Heisman moments, but they're probably a big thing for a lot of people. Mahomes has to have about 20 MVP moments ahead of Jalen Hurts. He's been a steady, really good player. No hate on him, but I don't remember any whirling dervish throws for touchdowns or little flicks that Mahomes does. Now he's a really good runner. He's a better runner than Mahomes. He runs a lot more than Mahomes, and he picks up touchdowns that way. So maybe I'm missing some sort of great run or whatever where he puts his shoulder pads down at the goal line. But I mean, none of those MVP moments in quotation marks could even rival what Mahomes has put up this year.
The highlights of Jalen Hurts, with the running added in, obviously, but the highlights of Jalen Hurts have been the dimes he's dropping to receivers in clean pockets when he's got all to throw. And we've harped on this a number of times that you watch the highlights of Mahomes touchdowns and you watch the highlights of Jalen Hurts touchdowns, and it's like, I'm making a sandwich, and do you want cheese on your sandwich? AJ Brown just ran a route concept that allowed him to run a post.
He's having
flag.
a snack out of a Cheez-It bowl.
Yeah, that's right. And let me throw it down there. But he hits the guy in the numbers, and he's
it's
really
the Tom
good.
Brady thing, right?
Yeah.
What you rarely just say, "Wow, how did Tom Brady do that?" You just shook your head and like, he's just so good. He's so great. But with Mahomes, it's like, what? I've never seen that before.
And I think part of it too is like switch the quarterbacks. What are the Chiefs with Jalen Hurts at quarterback, and what are the Eagles with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback?
Chiefs are worse.
The Eagles are probably still 12-1.
Same, yeah.
With Patrick Mahomes.
He's probably going to drop a game.
But there's no way Andy Reid would put the same amount that they put on Patrick Mahomes on Jalen Hurts.
There's
he's not going to be able to do that. Because how many players can do that? How many players can put, here is everything we're putting on your shoulders, Patrick.
No.
And go do it. And that's where the most valuable player. And look, maybe it was speaking out of turn, but even Micah Parsons, who they don't play this week, they played the Dallas Cowboys next week, but even Micah Parsons on the podcast said, is it Jalen Hurts or is it the Eagles team as the reason why they're 12-1? You got NFL players that are questioning how much Jalen Hurts has done for that team?
Inject a non-all-quarterback group to win a major award in football into my veins. Because I've got quarterback fatigue.
I know.
It's Heisman every year. Stetson Bennett, are you dry shaving me? You kidding me?
I like that one, Nick.
That was a lifetime achievement.
I guess.
I said it was
20 guys on his team better than him.
No. I said it with Braden Gall that you rank 1, 2, 3,
which is not the Heisman Trophy. It's not a lifetime achievement. It's
right. Except Eric Crouch, but you rank 1, 2, 3, and I think the voters were like, here's my 1, here's my 2, third. Stetson Bennett's been awesome. Good for him. I'll write him third. He got so many third place votes, did Stetson Bennett. That's the only thing I can explain as to why he was there over a Hendon Hooker, over guys like that, to where it was, well, third place isn't going to matter anyway. I've already got my top 2. I'll give it to Stetson Bennett. And the next thing you know, he's in New York.
I know, like, I guess, NFL evaluations of college players, a lot of times it's about measurables and not about production. So it's not an exact science there, but I would love for like Heisman Trophy to shift more towards like looking a lot more like Mel Kiper's big board, right? To where like, okay, this Aiden Hutchinson was dominant.
He finished second,
He was
right?
up there. He's one of the guys that broke through. Or who was the linebacker at Alabama?
Anderson.
Yeah, Anderson. How good he was, right? He's at like a 98. And look, he also has the stats as well, right? to where it becomes more than just. I mean, running backs are getting shoved out of the way. It's a quarterback award.
One of my Heisman questions I had yesterday that I didn't get around to asking was Aiden Hutchinson finished second last year in the Heisman voting as a defensive player. Can you name the defensive player before Hutchinson to finish runner-up? To finish as high as first or second? The last defensive player to do that?
Okay, so he was runner-up last year.
Aiden Hutchinson finished second last year. So before Aiden Hutchinson, the last defensive player to finish
so we're not
first
counting,
or second.
We're not counting
I have a guess.
Charles
I got a guess
Woodson.
mentally locked in.
I have a good one, which I don't think he got second. And I don't know if you remember this guy. I think he went to New York. He was from Holy Cross. His name was Gordy Lockbaum.
That sounds like a hockey player from 1930.
That's not the.
Gordy. What do you say, Gordy? I'm a
Gordy
hockey player.
Lockbaum has a whole bunch of NHL records that we don't know about.
What year was that with Gordy Lockbaum?
Early 90s, I think.
It's been since then.
Did Jadeveon Clowney do it?
Oh. Was that it?
No.
What was the.
That was my
it
guess.
the Peppers guy from Michigan?
Nope.
How about LeVar Arrington?
Nope.
Oh.
What about LeVar Burton?
Yes. Here's my hint that I was going to give people.
Okay.
He may not have won, but he would have gone home to his hotel that night and celebrated with his longtime girlfriend by himself.
I had the answer, so I know what this one is.
Okay.
Celebrated with his longtime girlfriend by himself.
Manti Te'o.
Manti Te'o.
Yes,
okay,
I knew
got
that.
it.
Manti Te'o finished second.
That's a great way to
That's
phrase
a
it.
And
good-
one of the
that's good.
reasons he finished second was the girlfriend story before we found out the whole catfish thing. It was like the passing away and all this other time and just his girlfriend and everything. That what a great story for Manti Te'o. And then we find out that all of it was like, a big catfish. But yeah, Manti Te'o before Aiden Hutchinson finished second that year.
Jadeveon Clowney finished sixth.
Yeah. He had some Heisman moments.
That's what
mainly against Michigan.
I was
That
thinking
in the
about the
bowl
Michigan
game, though, right?
Oh, it might have
Okay,
been.
so
I don't know.
that
I was
in the-
thinking about the strip and the single-handed pickup and being a number one pick.
I think that was
my
the
logic.
bowl game, which,
That's
by
a
the
great
way,
call.
Clowney would not have played in if that bowl game was taking place this year for two reasons. One, he's a professional, and also he would have gone pro and said, I'm not playing in a bowl game. And we would have missed one of the best highlights of, Jadeveon Clowney's college career in which he just destroyed, was it Hart?
Outback Bowl.
Gordy Lockbaum was a safety/linebacker and a running back. Played both ways for Holy Cross. 1988 was a Heisman Trophy finalist.
About that.
Wow,
Gordy Lockbaum. I
By
wish
the
the
way,
answer was Gordy Lockbaum. So
Manti Te'o, free agent. He's only 31.
he's out there, man. Come on.
Can he tackle?
Come on. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue. Remember the Leon Sandcastle and the Chiefs when
I
they were
sure do.
They should have taken Leon Sandcastle, and Eric Fisher was a fine pick.
I saw a Sandcastle jersey in real life
Yes.
a couple years after that.
There
That's
was-
how you know where the Chiefs
yes.
franchise was at that,
Right.
at that point.
I tweeted out that night that Manti Te'o now bragging about the time he played with Leon Sandcastle in college.
Oh,
such a jerk, man.
Sign me up for the 1987 Final Four for Heisman Trophy. You know who won it? 87? You should know. Come on. Not you should know, but I just know all the Heisman Trophy winners.
Danny Manning was 88. I know that one. Is it Purvis Ellison? Is it Never Nervous Purvis?
Wide receiver.
Tim Brown.
As I say, played with Grundy. Second was Don McPherson from Syracuse, quarterback. Third, Gordy Lockbaum from Holy Cross, a running back /safety /linebacker. Then it was like Lorenzo White after that, running back. Craig Hayward, running back. Chris Spielman was sixth, linebacker. And then four more running backs after that, including Thurman Thomas
How many
and
QBs
Emmitt
were there?
Smith. One in the top 10.
I don't think there was a quarterback outside of anything but a quarterback in the top 7 this year. No. Top 7 voting was all quarterbacks.
This is going to sound kind of
Thurman
confusing.
Thomas and Emmitt Smith got 7th and 9th that year, but behind Gordy Lockbaum at third.
Do you guys have any insurance and risk management needs by any chance?
Probably
Is
always.
this a read?
I'm pretty risk averse anyway.
No. I just want to let you know that Gordon C. Lockbaum is the vice president and principal of Sullivan Group. I have found out here. Gordon Lockbaum joined
The winner of
Sullivan
life,
Group in
too.
1989 after completing a nationally recognized football career at the College of Holy Cross.
And he also wears like 7 hats for that company too.
Yeah,
He does everything.
He's
And
the
it's
vice president and
mailroom.
principal and janitor and mailroom.
Works in the mailroom. It's great, man. HR. So you got to meet with him. It's fantastic what he does. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We will update the 3/4 of the way through the season. We'll get an update on the ZOUs next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
You know, there's a player on the Royals currently that whose final 44 games of 2018 was a 262 batting average, 353 on base, 597 slug, and 950 OPS with 12 home runs, 30 RBIs, another 10 doubles, 2 triples. And that guy's name is Ryan O'Hearn.
I'm going to pretend I heard all those numbers.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson, Josh Brisco, Beards, Mick Shaffer hanging out with us, KSHB 41 Sports Director. All right, let's get into the updated ZOUs, where we stand right now with 4 games to play, roughly the quarter pole. So let's start with Mahomes. Mahomes yards, we put it at 4,650.
He's just surpassed that.
He is pacing for, I don't know, about 5,500 yards or something. I don't know.
What's the record for yards in a season?
54.77.
So he could get that.
He needs
with an
to
extra game.
average 330 the final 4 games. To put that into perspective, he's averaging 320 on the season per game.
Yeah.
So he needs 330 per game
Jason,
the last 4
that'd be
weeks.
10 more yards per game.
That's 40 more yards than he typically would have if you just take his regular average. So if he can find a way to get, what if he got like,
That's why they need Tony and McCole Hardman.
what if he got 360 in this game? He'd only have to average 320
There you
the
go.
rest of the way. How about that? Wow. So we all took the over on Mahomes yards. We all took the over on Mahomes touchdowns. We put it at 34.5. He's got 33. So
Just want
it
to get
hasn't
to
hit
40.
yet,
He hasn't had a touchdown season in the 40s yet. Just get to 40s.
except for the 50.
But
And it wasn't in the 40s. It was in the 40s for a while.
How I phrased it. I knew if I phrased it more than 40, that'd be wrong. I said in the 40s.
Chiefs are going to play games in January.
There we go. Got to pay attention.
You got to know your teammate on that one.
Love it. Interceptions, we put it at 10.5. Damn you, Broncos.
Yep.
He's at 11, so that is already done. That means 1 point in his pocket is Brisco.
Let's go. Thank you, Patrick Mahomes.
Me, Beards, and
Thank you for the
Mick.
gift.
Thank you, Josie Jewell.
Thank you, Josie Jewell. Thank you, Patrick Surtain.
Under. Damn you, offensive line. He's got 11, so it doesn't matter what happens the rest of the way.
I would love it to stay exactly at 11, personally. That'd be fine.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire rushing yards. We put it 700.
Was looking good.
He was pacing for like 900 the first time we did this. Then the second time we did this, he was pacing for like 600. Now he's pacing for like 400.
Because that's what he has.
Well, he's at 302. So even though he's on the, I know,
could he come back?
Yes.
When?
I mean, he'd
When
be
could he come
eligible
back?
whenever they want him, I guess, or whenever his. I don't know the exact timeline, but he definitely could
He's not
return
IR?
within the.
He's on
IR.
IR.
Yeah.
He can definitely return by the end of the year. I'll double check.
When was his first game on IR? This was
It's,
his
just
second or
4
third
games.
game. Yeah. This was the second or third game against the
I can't. That part I can't.
Broncos.
Feels like this was the third
I thought
game
it was
he
the
was
third
out.
as well.
I think that's right.
So then he'll miss next week, and then they can open up his
He was
21-day window.
placed on
So
IR on the
if he-
20th,
those
on
last
November
3
23rd.
games,
could be Broncos and Raiders.
if he gets
for him.
200 yards a game,
Yeah. So I don't think the yards are going to hit. Under Josh and Mick.
hey,
Beards and I took the over.
Dang it.
That's rough. This could be a swing stat. Total touchdowns for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, we put it at 6.5.
was looking good.
He has 6 still.
Was looking real good.
At the quarter mark, he had 6.
The halfway mark?
He had 6.
Clyde was.
We're coming up on the 3/4 mark.
It's pretty much the 76% of the season already, so he's got 6.
He's missed Rams, Bengals, Broncos already.
Yes,
so
that was the third
this
one.
will be his 4th game this weekend,
so
and he'll be eligible to return after that.
You should just listen to Mick and I, and he won't return that one because of the
I
fact
didn't
that
know.
they
It
don't
just
return
was
him that
more
week.
of a feeling
It's
for
Andy
me.
So it'll be Broncos Raiders that he's got a chance to score one more touchdown. The under taken by Josh, Mick, and Beards. The over, me.
Nobody on the planet's rooting for a Clyde touchdown
You're
harder than
wanting
you.
somehow, some way, A, he comes back, B,
playing in the Raiders
the
game.
Chiefs can somehow sew up the number 1 seed before that Week 18 game and just play the backups more.
Total vulture touchdown in the fourth quarter of the Raiders game to
Vulture
get
touchdown.
7. Travis Kelce. Yards, we set it at 1,100. He's got 1,039 already. So he needs 61 yards.
Yeah.
Well, 62 yards to pass that. I'm the only one that took the over.
How did I not take the over there?
You three took the under for Travis Kelce.
That was
yards.
baby stuff. I should have known.
Touchdowns for Travis Kelce was set at 9.5.
Bye-bye.
It's 12, so that means this point is already counted. The only one that took the under was Josh Brisco.
What is wrong?
So the three of us
You hate Travis
got
Kelce?
I got my Mahomes pick, so I'm good.
over with Travis Kelce.
They spread it around a little more. I don't know.
Juju, receiving yards 750.5. He's at 762. That's also a point in the pocket for Beards and me.
You mean me? You mean me?
I'm sorry,
and you?
Josh and
Okay,
me.
I remember I took the over on Mahomes yards and like under on all the receiving yards.
You saw Justin Watson coming, man. You
I
thought
did.
you just thought he'd have an even bigger season.
Mile away. Beards and Mick with the under on Juju. That is an unattainable category for you guys to get a point for. Touchdowns for Juju. We set it at 6.5. He has
He's not
2.
there. Not there.
The overs for Juju Smith-Schuster in touchdowns are Josh and Beards.
Oh, you went over yards under touchdowns?
I went over yards under touchdowns.
I did
yes.
the opposite.
Yep.
Yep, I'm the only one that went over yards under touchdowns. The only one that went over for Kelce yards and touchdowns for both of them. Leads wide receivers in receiving yards. Brisco and I took Juju. Mick took MVS, and Beards has Kadarius Toney, oddly enough. So it was a hell of a guess, but McCole Hardman.
That wasn't a good pick, but I went
McCole Hardman.
MVS, Mick.
McCole Hardman. That one's not done yet, so there is no point given
I need
for that
like
one.
some
Gonna be
400.
Juju.
I need some 400-yard games out of McCole here, man.
How close is it?
This
I actually
feels
don't
like
know. I just told
It's
like
got to. I mean,
it's going to be.
no one's going to surpass his 762 right now, right?
kind of feels like the three of us have decided we're going to trip Beards as we were all running away from the bear.
Kind of feel like Beards doesn't have to be the fastest one, but he's right now the slowest runner of us all.
I think Beards is
The
lapsing.
receiving yards, it is Juju has 762. Marquez Valdez-Scantling has 606. He's only 150 behind.
Wow,
There's
that
4
I
games
would
to
have
play.
guessed like 300
You're
yards
still in the
behind.
running, Mick.
Okay.
Well, how many yards from MVS, Jason?
606.
606. That's actually on 7 receptions, though, so that's why it's confusing.
McCole has 297. He's right there, though. He's close. He's close.
400-yard
He would have he would have 1,030 right now had he not dropped those 3 balls. Yeah.
That's true. Chris Jones sacks. We put it at 9.5. He currently has 11.
Bye-bye.
Wow. The over selected by only 2 of us.
Not me.
Me and Josh.
Let's go, man. You. I think I haven't seen the final scores, but you and I should be feeling okay right now.
We'll see.
We'll see. I'm feeling pretty good right now, though.
George Karlaftis sacks. We set it 4.5. The last 3 weeks have done a lot for George Karlaftis because he's at 3.5 now with 4 games to play. 2 of us took the under, which doesn't look like it's going to hit. 1 more sack and he's tied. I guess he needs a sack and a half. The under was selected by me and Beards. The over,
Still
Josh.
a chance. He's still under
Does
it
it
now.
make sense to
right.
do halves for sacks because you can't actually
That is
on the over 100 you
yeah.
can't actually hit a half?
We just went by what the Vegas lines were for all of these, and so defensive player of the year and things like that.
And how
Rookie,
unfair
I
is
mean,
that?
rookie defensive player of the year,
I've
stuff
seen
like that.
3 guys sack a. They should go to thirds.
How do you get a half sack on? How do 3 people get a half sack?
Yeah, at the very least a quarter, and then you can go. You get a half, and you guys each get a quarter. You can at least keep it divisible by 4.
Team defense sacks. We set it at 37.5, and we all went under. We all went under.
I think I said under quickly.
They're
Whatever you
already
say,
at
I'm going under.
42 with 4 games to play, so we all missed on that. I thought Jones would get his 9.5, and that would really be it.
Yep.
And then a couple more categories. Rookie interceptions. So rookies, interceptions. We set it at 3.5. They've got 2. Damn you, McDuffie. They should have 3.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Set
that
it at
was
3.5.
one.
Only one of us took the under.
I think that was me.
Brisco.
Yeah.
Dang it.
So we need me, you, and Beards. We need 2 more rookie interceptions in the
Jalen
next 4
Watson
games.
on the pick 6.
Yep.
Who's the other one?
It is Joshua
I
Williams.
think Josh Williams
Against
got
2.
one.
Joshua Williams got his against.
Stalling.
Obviously, it's Joshua Williams who had the interception that everybody remembers
Off Jimmy Garoppolo against
Jimmy
the
G.
49ers.
49ers.
Of course.
You idiots.
At the goal line.
That's right. So Joshua
So
Williams.
both have been at the goal line.
Guess
That's
so.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
And can we count McDuffie's helmet as an interception?
Unfortunately, no.
Can I count his visor as an interception?
If it would have gotten stuck in his face mask, yes. But
and then wins, we all took over 11.5. We even added one because the over-under was 10.5 for the Chiefs. We even added one to 11.5.
So
we all took the over.
If Karlaftis gets a pick, that counts, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just rookie DBs. Okay.
If Darian Kennard gets a pick, still counts.
There we go.
Still counts. If Sky Moore picks off a punt, it would somehow count.
Love it.
All right, so the current standings right now, if the pacing and things that would hold.
I got to be in third at best.
With 11 leading, going from dead last at the quarter pole to now leading is Brisco with 11. His goes to 11.
Sure does.
Leading at the quarter pole, leading at the halfway mark, and now in second behind Brisco is me with 9.
Okay.
And then Mick Shaffer has 8. And right behind Mick, Beards with 5.
Oh, Beards!
Better than I thought.
Beards, start. Hey, man, just some friendly advice. Just start skimming gift cards from Sports or Leisure.
Yeah.
Just take one off the top every week. And
So the ones that
I mean, we all do.
So Beards and Mick, where
I want 15 taquitos.
Where Beards and Mick can switch points, you need Juju to get over 6.5 touchdowns. You need 5 more touchdowns from Juju in the last 4 weeks, and that will switch a point with
But
you
they
and
all
Mick.
need to be from the 1 yard line.
That would make it 7-6.
Well, that doesn't matter anyway. Dang it.
And then that's one of them. And then Karlaftis sacks. You need Karlaftis to not get one more sack. You need Karlaftis
have you
to
seen
get
this defense?
Yeah. If that happens,
Those two things.
if those two things
he would
happen,
overtake me.
then it would be 6 for Mick and 7 for Beards. Those are really the only two that are left that you guys are different on. That can be, I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire rushing yards is not going to happen, so I'm not counting that one. But the only ones that you guys are different on that hasn't already been counted as a point because it's done are those two.
You need to shut Karlaftis down.
No, you need one more.
Oh, no, shut Juju down.
Juju down. Yeah, don't throw to Juju in the end zone and Karlaftis sacks. So there you go. I do want to let you guys know what is on tap for this weekend. It's presented by KC Beer Company. And what is on tap is maybe the best sports weekend in a long time. We got a ton of stuff to watch this weekend. NFL triple header tomorrow. We got bowl games going on right now. UAB's up by 4 with a minute to play. Miami of Ohio has the ball with a minute to play. Also UTSA and Troy. We got Saturday bowls, the Fenway Bowl, the Las Vegas Bowl, the Lending Tree Bowl, the New Mexico Bowl, and the Frisco Bowl. College basketball this weekend, KU, MU, K-State in action, and some really good college basketball matchups too. Gonzaga, Alabama, top 15 matchup. That comes up tomorrow at noon. Houston, Virginia, tomorrow at 1 o'clock, a top 5 matchup. You got UCLA and Kentucky, a top 15 matchup, and then number Tennessee taking on Arizona. And then, of course, the World Cup, third place game tomorrow with Croatia and Morocco, 9 a.m., and the World Cup final Sunday, Argentina and France. Somebody's going to get a ring, Josh.
Somebody is, and I think right now, you know who gets the ring for me today?
Who's that?
You.
Oh.
Me.
Oh.
Mick.
Hey.
Not Beards.
Oh, no.
Listen, if you want to, even if you're not winning the ZOUs, even if you aren't having maybe the competitive edge this football season you were hoping to once have, you can still fix this. You can still, keep your loved ones believing in you because a little bit of hardware goes a long way. No better place to get it than at Ruback Fine Jewelry. Still time to get a perfect little blue Ruback box under your holiday shrub of choice. I think it's probably a Christmas tree, but if you got other holiday shrubs, I'd certainly endorse those. You can really turn your game around, Beards, or anyone else who's kind of losing their current competition, by going to Ruback Fine Jewelry. Visit them online at ruback.co. That's where I went to get my custom engagement ring for fiancée Renee. I got to get in there soon to start looking at wedding bands. That's exciting because that's for me, and that's the best gift of all, is a little bling for yourself. So go check out Ruback. Hal's been in the industry for 40 years. Ruback's been serving the Kansas City community for 100 years. So you know you're going to get the service that you deserve in a big moment, building a custom engagement ring or shopping the things they have there at Ruback right now. By appointment only, because they're going to give you the time you deserve. Ruback.co for Ruback Fine Jewelry. That's RUBACK.co.
Cuts next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
This is going to be so stupid, but here we go.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we got the cuts coming up here. Real quick, what do we think the final score is going to be this weekend? I'll go 31-10. Brisco?
I'm going to go 27-15. I'm giving you a weird score this week because the Texans are going to go for two or miss an extra point or shank a field goal.
I love it, Mick.
You guys remember from week to week the Chiefs games, right?
I do.
No,
Yep,
okay.
I do.
So the Texans are going to score.
Okay.
I mean, two quarterbacks the Chiefs really haven't seen? Oh, my God. The Texans will have 24 points, but the Patrick Mahomes is going to bounce back big time because he always does from 3 interception games. And the Chiefs are going to score a lot. So I'm going to say 36-24.
36-24. Beards?
What's the spread?
Chiefs win. 14.
3-2?
Yeah, sure.
All right, 3-2. All right, let's hear the cuts.
Make
you guys have been doing a lot of agreeing. Can I disagree with something?
Please, go ahead. Yes,
Lay it on us, and then we will double team you.
He totally didn't mean that.
That's got to be a liner next time Matt's here.
It's already saved in my liner.
Okay,
folder.
very
It's already
good.
Saved. I got a
Wow,
liner
let's cut
folder.
it down to I'll double team you.
And everything Jason said is right.
Oh, hey, nice. I love that. That was yeah, we should play that one again just so people hear it.
And everything Jason said is right.
Thank you.
How did he not give respect?
He smarted off to him all the time.
Well, he took his hooker away
and
from him,
talked
too.
to him all the time.
He was trying to teach his dad.
You probably shouldn't steal your dad's hooker.
Well, maybe he needs to teach himself not to give $50,000 to a hooker. Maybe that's what he should learn.
Well, he learned a hard lesson with his daddy's money.
Thank you.
Steal your dad's hooker. I mean, that's you can't do that. That's a rule.
Gary, write that down.
That's a lesson for all young men.
Do not take your father's hooker.
Are they talking about Nate Bukaty again?
White Lotus.
Oh.
White Lotus TV show. Also Nate, oddly enough, yes. Yeah, I feel bad for my brother.
Nobody cares.
Oh, the timing of it was just brilliant. Just brilliant. And also
it is indeed a torn MRI, or torn ACL for Kyler Murray. Torn MRI.
They tore the MRI when they found out.
They hate it. They tore it up.
They tore the MRI when they found out the ACL was intact. It's all good. Let's talk some Kansas City Chiefs football, some NFL football with Adam Teicher, our Chiefs insider from ESPN. Adam, how are you, sir?
Good, Seren. How you doing? Or Seren. Sorry to insult you that way, Jason. I am sorry to insult you that way. That'll never happen again.
Oh, that was great. By the way, UAB has just won 24-20. Miami of Ohio was driving. They had 2 seconds left. They were at the 20. They threw the ball down to the 5-yard line. Caught. The guy broke a tackle, got down to the 2, tackled, ball game. That's how Miami of Ohio lost. Keep going.
You guys have been doing a lot of agreeing. Can I disagree with something?
Please, go ahead. Yes.
Lay it on us, and then we
it.
will double team you.
Yeah, I feel bad for my brother.
Nobody cares.
Oh, we're done already.
Can we get just the Matt side of that one?
Oh, no. I didn't know we were done already.
Cut out my context.
Could have gone longer. Okay. Let's talk some Kansas City Chiefs football, some NFL football with Adam Teicher, our Chiefs insider from ESPN. Adam, how are you, sir?
Good, Seren. How you doing? Or Seren. Sorry to insult you that way, Jason. I am sorry to insult you that way. That'll never happen again.
But also,
and everything Jason said is right.
Thank you. Appreciate that. But also, Matt Derrick today said called me Josh Anderson.
That's true.
You'll hear that next week.
It's been an odd. Oh, so what happens on Friday goes on next Friday?
Yes.
It should.
Well, I won't hear it next week. I'm off next Friday, so you guys will hear it. You'll hear it next week. You guys enjoy it all you want.
I want the last thing you hear in your headset, seeing us face to face this week, to be me telling you that everything was right.
Are you gone all next week?
Correct.
Well, I'm doing the show on location next week, but I am off on Friday.
So Friday. You gonna be here Friday?
Absolutely.
December 23rd?
It's a party.
I'll order some seafood. We'll have a good time.
30.
Love it.
Beards, you got to get seafood for the ZOUs.
Yeah.
That'll save you 33% off your bill.
Mick loves it. Mick loves it.
I love looking at it.
Do you?
Smells good.
I like, and boy, I don't like seafood. I like the smell of it, though.
Nothing against it. I just don't want it in my mouth.
You feel that way about a few things?
Yeah. Hear that one next
Like
week.
what?
Olives.
Yeah, we did talk about black olives. So.
Oh, they're the worst.
All right. Enjoy the weekend. Hi, Josh's mom.
And everything Jason said is right.